All right, let's get into politics. JD Vance being insanely racist on the timeline. I covered this yesterday. I think it's pretty insane, but it's expected. I think it's pretty insane, but totally expected that we have officially gotten to a point where like Republicans are just letting it fly. They are basically one step removed from just like openly saying the N-word, like on the timeline. I mean, because they probably do say it off the timeline. Having said that, however, we're now officially we're almost there. You know, we're almost there. We're almost there in terms of just like basically saying slurs. Like the JD Vance story was so fucking unimaginably racist, imaginably insane, right? JD Vance appears to backtrack on false claim about Haitian migrants in Ohio, and it's like that right there, like this article right here from the New York Times, the gray lady, the paper of record, is being incredibly kind to JD Vance. So kind that it almost feels like it's a Fox News article. Like, you're the New York Times. Just say exactly what's going on. JD Vance, as an opportunistic white supremacist and with a false claim that Haitian migrants were stealing and eating people's pets, okay? Domesticated animals. Like, seemingly appears to backtrack from false claim about Haitian migrants in Ohio, hides the truth. It hides the truth. The truth of the matter is that there was a fake story, like email chain style fake story that your grandparents would probably believe on Facebook, okay, about a police body camera footage from Ohio, but not the place in Ohio that they're talking about where there's a lot of Haitian migrants, is Canton, Ohio, was where the body camera footage was, where it was a black woman being arrested. She was having a mental health episode. She was obviously like crazy. She like stomped on the head of a cat and started eating it in front of the cops. And then they were like, this is what Haitian migrants are doing. Okay? This is what Haitian migrants are doing. Haitian migrants are stealing people's cats and eating them. And immediately the Senate Judiciary, the GOP Judiciary Twitter account started posting about like save our ducks and our cats, AI images. Donald Trump started memeing about it. Elon Musk started memeing about it. Ted Cruz started memeing about it, saying like, oh, vote for Donald Trump so we can stop people, you know, Haitian immigrants from stealing your cats and your ducks so they can eat them. Now, this is a career ender, okay? In any other place on the planet, that is a career ender, okay? This is when you pack it up. You're like, wow, this is incredibly, incredibly fucking racist. You probably should quit politics and maybe even quit living, okay? Like, just, you should be permanently humiliated everywhere you fucking go until you do the right thing, okay? Like, that's what should happen to you. If you are a prominent person who goes public with the insane, psychopathic, white supremacist, meta, racist meme that like Haitian migrants are stealing people's pets and eating them, you should do the honorable thing, okay? And yet, we have now officially arrived at a point where this doesn't even take a blip out of your fucking political capital. Your career actually benefits from it. Your career actually benefits from repeating this racist lie, and everybody just kind of moves on because we move on to the next racist lie. This shit happened last week with Venezuelan migrant gangs overtaking apartment complexes, right? And I genuinely thought like, oh, we can't get more racist than this. I was wrong. That now, in the distance, looks like a normal story, like a oopsie, okay? Now it makes me feel like, yeah, no, I get why people could be duped by that because of how fucking insane this is. Like, these types of stories have always existed. Like, you know, Michelle Obama calls white people crackers. Like, that kind of stuff has always existed in the periphery in American politics. The difference is that was relegated to like the weirdest fucking blogs, right? Like, that wasn't a real story that got like this much mainstream prominence, you know? John McCain is not gonna fucking Like, John McCain's not gonna fucking run around being like, yeah, Michelle Obama called white people crackers, and like Barack Obama got top. Barack Obama got fucking dome from a gay man while he was smoking crack. Like, those kinds of stories back in the day by old school Republican Party members who were also unimaginably racist regardless, like, those kinds of stories were not presented as like a gotcha, okay? Like a real story, right? Like, that wasn't a thing. And it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that like we've officially gotten to a point where like the sane guy in the insane ticket, the VP pick for Donald Trump, who's supposed to be like the sane, you know, buttoned up guy who's at least like media trained, so we can go on, you know, Dana Bash and talk to Dana Bash with the language that liberals understand. Like, that guy's like, yeah, Haitian migrants are eating cats. Like, that's what he's running on. That's where we're at now. And I fear that this is not good for American political discourse, okay? Eugenics tweet about Haiti has over 7 million impressions. Haiti has an average IQ 6.7. Let's talk about what that means. With an IQ 6.7 or below, the average Haitian, like, this is straight up Hitlerian politics, okay? This is fake eugenicist bullshit, okay? IQ, if you know anything about IQ, you already know that it is not a valid metric for anything, okay? People who place a lot of emphasis on IQ in terms of like how successful you will be in society or how productive of a member you will be in society, unironically have low fucking IQ, okay? That's the only reliable metric for IQ. If you start talking about IQ, and if you're like, oh, dude, it's the most valuable, most reliable way to figure out if someone is going to be successful, now I know you have low IQ. Ironically enough, it still doesn't matter, but what that determines for me is that you're a stupid person, okay? Q is malleable, okay? The way you take the test, and also how much nutrition you have is going to greatly change the output, okay? Studies have been conducted in India during times of famine and the same population size when they're actually well fed. Their IQ point differential is like 10 to 20 points. That's a massive swing. Nutrition and education play a phenomenal role. It's not like some genetic predetermined value in the way that these fucking psychopathic eugenicists try to advocate for, okay? That's it. So anyone and everyone that tries to fucking talk about like IQ as this like very important metric for success is 1,000,000% like teetering on the edges of associating themselves with like Nazi ideology. Okay? That's it. The old eugenicist assumptions are familiar, that the population is overall stupid and underserving, and that there is a worthy minority defined against this stupid majority, that the methods of discriminating the worthy from the unworthy are objective and quantitative, despite its racist and ableist nature of the test grading system, and that there is no need to consider systematic oppression ongoing or historical. Yard and Cats. Like, this overall is basically the precursor to scientific racism. For those of you who don't know what scientific racism is what was the precursor to Nazi ideology. It was a way to try and justify racial superiority and racial inferiority. Okay, that's, you know, most prominent in the all the way up until the early 1900s, but all the way up until like the 1920s in the United States of America. And obviously post World War II, people were like, ugh, this is definitely not smart. This is definitely not a good idea. And not because it's like some secret science that like woke libtards are too afraid to parse through. It's just bullshit. Okay? That's it. Because it was fucking bullshit. And there are a million different examples of how it's bullshit, like all the way from measuring black people's skull density to try to figure out phrenology, to try to figure out why they were servile. Like, it was always a post hoc rationalization for why black people must be a different type and subhuman, a different type of thing, a different type of like living being that actually is better off being enslaved. That is what the ultimate reason for scientific racism was. Okay? And if you want to get into it, obviously, pre-chattel slavery didn't work in the same fucking way that chattel slavery worked. Obviously, there was not like generational slavery in that same regard. Chattel slavery obviously accelerated this process and made it significantly worse, which is why historians hold it as a separate thing. And in an effort to justify chattel slavery, Western nations had to come up with a different reason as to why you can make a group of people permanently servile and justify it. That's where the basis of racism comes from. That's where the basis of white supremacy comes from. I don't want to fucking dive into it too much, but ultimately all of that is still associated with this scientific racism of the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. And it is complete fucking bullshit. It is utter nonsense. The association of like any kind of genetic predetermination for success with IQ is completely ridiculous and oftentimes mostly advanced by racist fucking idiots who ironically would probably have very low IQ, or at least like what they think low IQ represents. Well, they ironically represent that. Okay? So yeah. What up? Not bad. Sana kahve aldım. Evet. Okay. It's right here. You can take the whole thing, actually. Leisure Miller made a great video about this a while back, calling out all the horrible backgrounds of that narrative in eugenics. Okay. The racist subplots are the precursors to the mass deportation camps. Yeah. So this guy is obviously fucking making this argument in an effort to be like, if your IQ is low, then you have a predetermined slot in society in terms of the workforce. It says IQ 67 or below, the average Haitian over half of the country would be considered too disabled to be eligible for the death penalty. Someone at this level will struggle to understand the cause and effect of basic things. By the way, that's fucking insane to say, because if we know anything, we know that like America loves executing mentally disabled black people. So that part is also wrong. Every part of this argument is wrong. Okay. So, you know, this motherfucker is not keeping up with the Supreme Court. Okay. There is no like eligibility of mental disability for the fucking death penalty. The Supreme Court routinely votes in favor of executing people with intellectual disabilities and beyond. So yeah, at one standard deviation up from 67, we have an IQ of 82. Around 1 in 6 Haitians are intelligent enough to be a below average janitor. Again, associating IQ with like your destiny, your predetermined like slot in society. Doors open. Yeah, doors open. You can come inside. You can come inside. Anne! Please get the door. Okay. At 2SD standard deviation, we're at 97. Roughly average intelligence in America. Around 2% of Haitians will be as intelligent as your average high school classmate. It could be clerical workers or cooks. I mean, this is literally just like a straight up. This is literally just, you know, Nazi shit, okay? Just letting you guys know. And ironically enough, this is Nazi shit. And these people, much like Hitler originally thought that he had this racial superiority and routinely found out that he did not, that the Aryan race was not inherently superior. What I find really funny about this situation as well is that, like, dog, you are such a fucking racist that legitimately believes that there is racial inferiority amongst like Haitian migrants that are coming in, that you are duped like a child, okay? Like a baby, okay? Because racism, white supremacy makes you dumber, okay? You automatically assume that you have some kind of racial superiority and that there's some kind of racial inferiority, okay? So then you automatically are a dumber person than the average human being, okay? Who does not have these values. And that's the reason why you will find yourself routinely duped like this. Okay? Like what? Who the fuck is falling for this story? You have to be an actual fucking baboon brain dipshit to be like, oh, Haitian migrants, like, I'm sure they're eating cats. Like, you're a fucking idiot. You're an idiot. You're a racist idiot. Okay? Anyway, this racist idiot is running for president or vice president. To top it off, the IQ stat he references isn't even true. The average Haitian IQ is 82, US is 90. Anyway, it blows my fucking mind that we're at this point. Okay? In the last few weeks, my office has received many inquiries from actual residents of Springfield who've said their neighbors' pets or local wildlife were abducted by Haitian migrants. It's possible, of course, that all these rumors will turn out to be false. Do you know what's confirmed? that a child was murdered by a Haitian migrant who had no right to be here, that local health services have been overwhelmed, that communicable diseases like TB and HIV have been on the rise, that local schools have struggled to keep up with newcomers who don't know English, that rents have risen so fast that many Springfield families can't afford to put a roof over their head. One thing that I used to talk about, show the receipts on what? One thing that I used to talk about so frequently with Sweden, okay, was the anger and resentment that like the average Swede had towards immigrants, Muslims. The very same arguments that you're hearing about like Haitian migrants eating fucking, pets and stuff, that's existed in Europe for quite some time. Early on by some of the most unimaginably racist Hitlerian types, and then later by the average person, right? Because that's usually how racism goes if left unchecked. And what's really interesting is that like a lot of the Swedish reactionary movement directly started as a consequence of austerity and actually started before Muslim refugees started coming to Sweden by larger quantities. And that's what's really interesting. And the same principle exists here as well. Economic instability and economic volatility born out of economic inequality and austerity creates an environment where people feel anger and resentment. People see the inequality. They get angry about it. They're upset about their conditions being shitty. And then they turn around and they look for a villain. And right-wingers slot that shit in so easily. Okay? They slot it in so easily. What I'm talking about is austerity that far predates even the war on terror in Sweden. Okay? The war on terror and its understandable inevitable consequence of having like more Muslim refugees go to Europe because of the destabilization of the region. And what's really interesting about this entire process is that like nowadays people don't even think about that. They literally just like made false associations, and every problem that they experience in society they attributed to refugees. Okay? All the while their welfare state started crumbling and got worse and worse over time because nobody was actually associating the issues with the underlying material inequalities. And that's how capital owners fucking steal. That's how they run your pockets, okay? That's how they steal your money. You're too busy thinking this guy that looks different than me must have some weird underlying scary purpose for being here, and he doesn't have the same interest that I have in terms of like, having a normal life. And I'm feeling all of this anger and resentment, this hostility, because the conditions are worse than they were 10 years ago. And it must be the scary brown people. That is the reason why shit sucks. See? And that's precisely the reason why you have people who still do this. 85% of rapes and homicides in Sweden are done by illegals or recent refugees. There are a dozen Swedish papers on this. It's obvious if you live here. That is completely false. That is completely false. And yet it does not matter. I haven't looked at the recent rape statistics in Sweden, but I do know that one of the things that Swedish right-wingers, straight up fucking Nazis, used to do back in the day would claim that it was actually immigrants that were doing all the rapes. And then you would look at the immigrants and it wasn't actually refugees. It wasn't actually Muslim refugees. They meant immigrants as in like people that fucking came from other European nations. They would just like add all of that into the fucking pile and then still lie about the statistics beyond that. And that's what's really crazy about this. And it's just straight up lying, lol, I'm Swedish. Yeah. That's what's really fucking crazy about it, is that overall, it just kind of like takes away the responsibility from the Volk, from the in-group, right? Like they're not doing the fucking rapes and murders. Like, come on now, it's gotta be fucking migrants. And it's like, no, dog. It's your fucking neighbor. It's probably you, as a matter of fact. If you got this kind of fucking attitude, I wouldn't be shocked if you were also a fucking rapist on top of that. Anyway, like the rape statistics like increasing in Sweden, right? Exploding, skyrocketing in Sweden was a consequence of the Swedish government determining rape differently, logging each instance of sexual assault, not as one, but each individual sexual assault, if done over a long period of time by like a couple. You know what I mean? If someone is in an abusive relationship, as like individual stats, that actually all of a sudden spiked the rape statistics, okay, sexual assault statistics. But Catholic right-wingers in Sweden immediately used that as an opportunity to shit on Muslims. They were like, I mean, this was so commonplace. Fucking PewDiePie talked about it. All the way back in, I believe, 2016, PewDiePie was on a fucking podcast being like, yeah, these dumb right-wingers are like fucking lying about like, you know, a change in the statistics in Sweden in the way that like rape is determined, and attributing it falsely to like Muslims because they just hate like refugees. Have you heard about Malmo? You can't be Jewish there. Muslims beat you crazy. Okay, dog. Yeah, no-go zones. That was another one. Here's Kamala Harris bragging about giving amnesty to thousands of Haitian migrants. If you're a reporter or an activist who didn't give a shit about these suffering Americans until yesterday, I have some advice. Spare your outrage for your fellow citizens suffering under Kamala Harris's policies. Be outraged at yourself for letting it happen. In short, don't let the crybabies and media dissuade you, you fellow patriots. Keep the cat memes flowing. How do right-wingers get away with near-perfect framing of our socioeconomic problem in the left? Someone who is going to save them from said problems do not even come close to a good framing. It's because moneyed interests are organized, okay? It's much easier to organize a couple people with a lot of money and then design society in a way that churns out more of this structure, okay? Moneyed interests are the ones who are funding colleges, funding think tanks, funding politicians. This happens all around the fucking world. And the media that is also obviously interested in corporations, interested in the bottom line of corporations, will follow the money and will create this cycle of misinformation. And things are, I think, legitimately getting fucking worse, okay? Things are getting worse overall. Why are Nazis here hate watching? I mean, dude, that's like that's every day. Propaganda is so obvious. Why do people fall for it? Because it's comfortable. If you are a stupid person, it's a comfortable narrative. It's a narrative that you probably have in your mind. You're predisposed to tribalism, okay? And it's a reliable and very comfortable fucking narrative. It's crazy that like the New York Times acted like JD Vance backtracked when he literally said, keep the cat memes flowing, by the way. I don't even think it's that obvious for them to be fair. It reinforces certain beliefs. People are incredibly susceptible to one singular powerful anecdote massaged in a certain way. Jay Mershon, thank you for this update. This is a great example, okay? The child that was killed by Haitian migrants that Vance is referring to was a child that was killed in a literal fucking bus accident where many more children were harmed. It's so sad to hear, but it's not like the Haitian man was trying to kill this kid. Like, he dropped that in there as though this person, like, deliberately killed a fucking white baby, right? This scary Haitian migrant came into America to kill a white child, right? And if you already have that kind of, if you have that racist dog in you, right? Then you agree. You're like, oh yeah, he must have done that. Oh. And the interesting part about this is that, and I repeated this before, like we haven't even gotten to this side of the conversation, but even if there was a Haitian migrant who came into the United States of America, was like deeply mentally ill and very violent and ended up killing someone, and it literally in the process said like, I want to kill white people, that's why I came here, okay? If you attribute that to the entirety of a fucking population of people, like if you look at that and go, oh, every Haitian migrant is like that, you're a fucking racist, dog. That's it. And the easiest way to comprehend that is, the easiest way to understand that is by like, when you see a white guy, okay, go to a fucking school and shoot an entire school up, okay, and kill a bunch of children and teachers, you don't go, every white guy's doing this. Because white people are the in-group. They are the dominant group in the social hierarchy, okay? Because whiteness is a concept that changes over time and ultimately is, like, even the fact that people are memeing right now and go, I do now. No, you don't. You're white, dumbass. More than half of you motherfuckers are white. We're having a serious conversation. Obviously, the reason why you can meme about it with this in this way is because white people are the dominant in-group. Many of you are saying that, and you are white, okay? Do you look in the mirror and go, oh, I'm about to do a fucking mass shooting? No, shut the fuck up. What are you even talking about, dude? I don't think this is that difficult of a concept to parse through, okay? When you see a white person, when you see a white man do a heinous crime, you don't attribute that crime to the entirety of the white male population, okay? When you see a man do a fucking heinous crime, you don't attribute that to the entirety of the male population. Men are responsible for like 90% of fucking violent crimes. You don't go, oh, it's just men. You know, maybe some do, but we make fun of those people. That's a ridiculous way to fucking approach society, okay? Anyway, so that's something that you have to consider. Okay? Yeah, stereotyping and generalizing. A lot of people literally do that. Yes, but obviously it doesn't fucking hit the same when you're doing that to a non-marginalized population that is the majority, that whiteness is defined by proximity to fucking power and proximity to blackness. Okay? So, like, you can get away with memeing in that direction, and most people will think you're a fucking little crybaby if someone fucking corrects you on that and goes, "Whoa, what are you talking about? Why are you being racist to white people?" Okay? Do you understand? Do you get it? And under a patriarchal construct, obviously, men are the dominant force as well. So in that similar regard, it's akin to saying, "Oh, you're being anti-straight. You're doing, anti-het behavior." Okay? Obviously, these two things are not the same. But this is besides the point. We're having a serious conversation about the way most people analyze certain situations, okay? JD Vance, there's a meme about him fucking a couch. You don't think every white man fucks a couch, right? It's just not how it works. Are you covering the debate tonight instead of Wukong? Yes. Yeah, it's like crying about fucking anti-Christian behavior in society. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous fucking thing to cry about. And everybody understands you're a silly little bitch. Anyway, easy GOP. There's no way this is real. Eat less kittens, vote Republican. Catch our newest billboard across 12 locations in the Phoenix metro area. No, this is not real. The official Twitter account of the Republican Party of Arizona. Hashtag America First. Dude, I'm serious. Like, if the Democratic Party does not fucking counter message against this like anti-immigration sentiment and openly show it for the fraudulent racist bullshit it is, like it's gonna get so much. Bro, this is like Klansman shit, dude. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing, man? What are we fucking doing? What are we doing right now? This is actually insane. It sucks you can't use pics of the debate like past tweets. Oh God, there was so much positivity, like with the Tim Waltz, like Republicans are weird narrative, and they just like dropped it because they're such fucking cowardly little shits, dude. It makes me so mad. They're so scared. The one fucking good type of messaging that literally made the Republicans go crazy, and they immediately fucking dropped that shit. I'm not gonna watch the debate because I feel Kamala's gonna blow it. Yeah, she is gonna blow it for sure. The cat thing seems more unhinged for Republicans than anything. I'm not sure if it's sticking the way they want, or maybe I'm just a frog in boiling water. Dude, this is the never-ending dynamic that I present as a real problem for future political discourse in this country. I said this after the 2022 midterms as well. Going back to the 2022 midterms, what did I tell you? I told you that like Republicans being fucking weird are grossing people out. Okay, normal voters are getting grossed out by the way that like the Republican Party messages. They don't know how to fucking run a normal campaign. However, there is also an underlying fear that I always had where I said either they are going to break the brains of enough people and be able to move the conversation even more to the fucking right, or they're going to lose. Okay? But it doesn't change the reality that every single time they put forward a meme like this or add on to like how openly racist they're being, there is going to be an additional 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, if not a million people that go, "Oh yeah, I'm rocking with this shit." Okay? Every time they push the needle forward, okay? Every time they move the needle further right in the direction of anti-blackness, in the direction of like anti-migrant sentiment, they are indoctrinating more people into this fucking cause. Okay? It ends up normalizing this kind of behavior. You think a million people believe Haitians are stupid? First of all, it's probably more than a million people who do genuinely believe that. But I'm saying there is, every time that like campaigns like this come out, there's a lot of people that are grossed out by it and think, "Oh my God, this is fucking ridiculous." But there's still going to be some people who are like, "Oh yeah, I agree. I agree with this." There's now more people that are on board with this messaging. This is how it works. If you put this prominently in display. By email, a spokesperson for the Arizona Republican Party told Snopes that the 12 billboards were all digital and will be active until September 13th. It's crazy because like These are some of the most underserved, some of the most marginalized people in society. So they do not have an adequate defense mechanism either. Okay? Like there's no one in the pocket for the like big Haitians. There's no moneyed interest backing like Haitian people. So they can't even launch a legal defense against this kind of thing. You know what I mean? So the Republicans, being the fucking bullies that they are, can just keep hammering them over and over again because they're defenseless for the most part. That's the reality. That's the worst part about this kind of dynamic. Same with fucking trans people. There's really not anything you can do, right? At least there's some level of organization, like a defense structure for trans people in general, but like there's nothing for Haitian people. You know what I mean? You got like maybe a couple migrant advocacy groups and like ACLU and shit, but overall, they got their hands full with every other avenue of attack in general. It's really, really, really fucking scary, dude. It is really scary. It's really shitty. Do you think these billboards really work to radicalize people towards the Republicans and not away from them? In my minds, it's too weird to be palatable. No, I agree. I think this probably pushes away more people than it actually wins over. Okay? It probably pushes away more people than it wins over people. But the scary thing is every time you do this, there's going to be some people that are moved further into the right. Okay? You are reinforcing the most racist attitudes, and you are radicalizing people because you're putting it on the fucking forefront. You're normalizing it. You're putting it and saying like, this is me. This is my shit. You shouldn't be afraid. One of the best examples of this is like Nazis no longer wearing fucking Klan robes and no longer covering their faces under the Trump administration. They literally were like out and proud. Why? Why were they out and proud? Because they were like, well, that's our guy. He's saying the things that we say. And he's saying it boldly. And the only way that they stopped doing that was when they either got unmasked or outed and doxxed, and fucking anti-fascists were like actively fighting against them. And even then, the media was like, well, anti-fascism is the real fascism, I think. Oh, methinks there is both sides in this situation. It's like, no, there is no fucking both sides. You got Nazis on the one side and you got people who say fuck Nazis on the other. What are we talking about? I was there. I was covering it at the time in like 2016. In the 2016 era, there was a legitimate point of contention it regularly about how like Antifa is a terror group. It's an organization. But you have to remember, like, all of that coverage aside, there were people who said, nah, fuck that shit. And that's the reason why when Charlottesville, when it happened the first time, had Nazis prominently, openly displaying themselves, associating this dangerous, violent, insane ideology with their own person, right? Openly being like, I don't give a fuck. Yeah, this is me, right? And then the second time they tried to pull that shit, they couldn't. They had like 50 people show up. Why? Because they were afraid of the repercussions. It shouldn't get to a process in which like people have to take matters into their own hands. Like, I'm not an advocate for vigilantism at all. But there are certain instances where it's obvious that the current forms of governance, the regulatory bodies, do not fucking do anything about this situation because it is not a threat to the established hierarchies. So people have to take matters in their own fucking hands. And they did, to the best of their ability. Anyway, stupid question, but does the right going further right push you further to the left? I mean, I think I'm pretty firmly as far left as you can get. So I don't know how I could be more further to the fucking left. Twitch is putting a hit on you. What the fuck? There's a new sheriff in town. Reward a kiss from Kaya. What the fuck? Anyway, I can't believe we got jammed up with this like JD Vance nonsense again after I covered this yesterday. I wish I could say I'm shocked, but honestly, you know, as things stand, it's not all that shocking, I guess. Things are just getting progressively worse every fucking day. And if you do not have a consistent, coherent counter message that mainstream media is going to have to cover, if you are the Democratic Party, you're supposed to be the counterbalance to all this shit. And you're not doing that. You're not presenting yourself as the counter mechanism, the counterbalance, the counterweight. Then the media is not going to cover it. But let's get to Tyreek Hill's body camera footage. Tyreek Hill is a controversial figure for many reasons. He himself has, I would say, been in the crosshairs of legal scrutiny, the criminal justice system, and has been able to get away with it. But in this circumstance, regardless of his background, he is still a victim to police brutality. On the one hand, he himself has, on the one hand, he himself has done a bunch of fucked up shit, but that doesn't really matter in this circumstance. What is this? Ziggurat situationist. I couldn't get any more left, says the AOC simp. Big juicy butts. Yeah. The cops have once again managed to make Tyreek Hill a sympathetic figure, of course. So let's take a look. Tyreek Hill is he a running back or wide receiver for the Dolphins? He's very fast. I think he's a running back, right? Or he's a wide receiver. Okay, my bad. He's not a running back. He's a wide receiver for the Dolphins. You might, if you're not super familiar with him, you might remember I Show Speed challenged him, and he actually, in the most cowardly way, did not take up that challenge. Okay. He played running back in college though, but he's a wide receiver. So he just got a massive contract. Anyway, he is on his way to the Dolphins game in his McLaren. Now, if you know anything about Florida, what he did to get pulled over, which was officially going, I believe, 20 miles over the legal speed limit. Like, I think he was going 50 and a 35 or something. Or no, not even. I don't know the exact details, but he was going faster than expected. But if you know anything, I heard it was 100 miles and a 45. No. He wasn't. No, it wasn't that much. I think he was going 60 and a 50. He's going 60 and a 40, 55 and a 40. Okay. They listed visual estimation of 60 miles per hour. Okay. It wasn't like genuinely above the speed limit. Like, it wasn't like crazy above the speed limit. He was going 250 in a school zone. Okay. Everybody's fucking lying. I don't even think that they actually clocked them. Okay. But the point is this. If you know anything about Miami-Dade or Florida driving, going 10 to 20 miles over the fucking legal speed limit is completely fucking meaningless. I'm sorry. I used to drive in Miami. I lived in Miami. You're out of your dang mind if you think. You're out of your dang fucking mind if you think that, like, people aren't doing that shit willy fucking nilly, okay? They probably wanted to stop him because they were like, sir, you're not drunk. It seems like you're not drunk while you're driving. We have to arrest you. That shit is illegal in fucking Florida. Florida drivers are the absolute worst motherfuckers on the planet, okay? The absolute worst drivers, bar none. Yeah. The police estimation was that he was going 60 miles an hour, okay? So I don't know where the fuck people are coming from. Here's the traffic citation. This is from Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network. Careless driving, citation for Tyreek Deshaun Hill. This carries, what is a civil penalty, $179? The reason why I'm telling you all this is because I need you to understand something. Like, what you're about to watch is just, seatbelt violation by driver. They tried to throw the kitchen sink at him, it seems. Okay? Careless driving. Where does this say the speed? Anyway, he says, via the Miami-Dade Police Department, here are the citations received by Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill, whom police estimated was traveling at 60 miles an hour. Okay? So when people say he's going 100 miles an hour, fucking know that that's bullshit. But here, this is the available video from the body camera footage where you can't really tell how fast he's going, I guess. But this is when they first clock him and want to pull him over. Okay, so did you see that? Here, that's his car. Okay, right outside the stadium. Okay, definitely going like faster than the other cars for sure, but not like significantly faster. Okay, like barely above the speed limit. Okay, now the reason why I spent so much goddamn time on this is because I need you to watch how the cops react to this egregious crime.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? What? Why do you have it up?
Okay.
window down. Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me that. Get out of the car. Give me that. We'll break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Listen. You can't. The most egregious crime, okay? The most egregious crime here is not even the fact that he's doing a DWB, driving while black, okay? He's doing a DWB, driving while black, and not abiding by the authority and sucking the dicks of every cop in the immediate vicinity. Okay? You can't do that. That is a severe escalation, okay? That right there, it's over. It's done. Like, it is incredible, dude. It is incredible that he hurt the feelings of cops by rolling the window back up. Okay? It's not like he is refusing to comply. He is complying. He gave his fucking license and then rolled the window back up.
Right now. We're not playing this game.
This guy literally goes, if you don't roll your window down right now, I'm going to. Yeah, they have his ID. They know who he is. They know there is a fucking football game that he's trying to get to. Okay? They know who the fuck he is. They know what's going on here. They're not like, they're not like, oh, this is a random dude. Okay?
I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting up, bro. God damn, twin.
When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting up.
You understand? Not what you want, but what we.
He's talking to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, his agent.
You're a little fucking confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late.
Chill,
Too late.
All right, bro. Take
Too
me to
late.
jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good.
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying.
Bro, y'all,
Don't move.
good. Bro, you beating on my window like you crazy.
I'd love to see this motherfucker's tats, by the way. I wonder why. You rarely ever see a cop wearing sleeves like that. Rarely ever see a cop wearing sleeves like that. Maybe because he's on a motorcycle. Or maybe because he's real tatted up. I wonder what kind of fucking tattoos he's got. Love to see that shit. Fucking roid raging ass cops, dude. God damn. God damn. The real gang, dude. This is actual gang shit, okay? You know his ass got a bunch of Hindu symbols. You know what I mean?
Damn, yo, bro, dude, beating on my window like he crazy. I ain't do nothing, twin. Damn.
Hey, don't park there. Don't park there.
Hey, chill.
Uh-oh. You got other scary big black guys showing up. His teammates are there too. So his teammates stop because they're also on the way to the fucking game. And they walk up there and they're like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Call Drew, call Drew, hey, call Drew. Call Drew, bro, call Drew. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Hey, what? Hey, call Drew, bro, just call Drew. Hey.
The other football players are John Smith and Calais Campbell, who also later got detained by the police. Nice.
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen, hey, man, they got Tyreek, the cops over here beating on him, man. They over here beating on Tyreek,
Listen,
man.
big man, don't park there, man. Just get in
They
the car.
come, man.
Just get in the car.
Right on the side of the,
Hey, get in the car.
Yeah, chill me,
You're
amor.
parked in the middle of the street.
I'm in the car.
You gotta go before you get a ticket.
Hey,
I'm
you're
not
in the car.
Who's the driver?
This is my car.
Shit,
All right,
okay.
all right,
One of his teammates is Calais Campbell, who's like a 15-year player and has won community awards and is a great guy.
Let me have your license. Let me have your license.
I'm leaving.
I'm not playing. Let me have your license right now.
He's like, yep, you're getting arrested too, baby. Guess what, dude? You're also black and also hurting my feelings. And that is the biggest crime of all, okay? You cannot be a black person in the vicinity of a cop and demanding justice or answers because that hurts the cop's feelings, okay? They do this to white people too, of course, make no mistake. They do this to everybody. These cops are some of the most entitled fucking man children on the planet. Okay? Society, much like Israel, okay, has kept telling them over and over again, no, it's okay to be this way. You can be this way all day, every day, baby. If anybody dares piss you off, beat the shit out of them. Okay? There's no rules. There's no accountability. Fuck it. You can power trip. It's a part of your job. It's a part of the best part of your job, actually. You know, we've taught them all the wrong lessons. Why else would they behave any differently? Judging many on one wrong situation? Yeah, dude. Being a police is not like a fucking, you know, a racial thing. You understand that, right? It's a job. And if your job across the board gives you this level of power over people, if your job is to be able to deny people their freedoms, for example, it's in your job description. And also in every interaction that you're having with people, you have to enforce your fucking authority. Okay, one wrong situation is also delusional, by the way. Do you know how many fucking instances like this happen on a daily goddamn basis? The only reason why you heard about this, the only reason why you're seeing it is because they're doing it to a very famous person. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy that this motherfucker had the audacity to be like, one wrong situation and you're judging everybody. No, dude, I'm judging the job description, okay? Like, across the board, the way policing works is inherently fucked, okay? I'm not saying that there's no necessity for like some mechanism of law enforcement, okay? In theory, I understand it. Obviously, I recognize it. In order to keep society functioning normally, you need like the presence of law and order, okay? And enforcers of law and order. The issue here, especially in the United States of America, however, is that it is completely fucked. Like, we've given them maximum power, no restrictions, no regulation, no accountability. It is literally not like it is illegal to have a mechanism of enforcement. So of course they get this way. Giving a gun to these psychopaths is insane. And one presidential candidate wants to give them even more immunity. You mean Kamala Harris?
License right now. You're not gonna give me a license?
Donald Trump wants to give 100% immunity to cops, by the way. Dog, what more immunity can they have? They already have maximum immunity. Like, I don't even know. I genuinely don't even know how much more immunity you can give them. Okay? I don't know. I got extremely normie friends in fantasy football leagues who were talking about this. One of my homies said that's crazy. It happened to him. Players shouldn't be treated like that, which is awesome because obviously this shouldn't happen to anyone. But people seeing it happen to rich, famous, and really good players opening up this convo, yeah. This is the type of shit that gets normies pissed off, okay? Because they're fucking up their fantasy league. Like, all of a sudden, this is personal for them. You know what I mean? They've seen Tyreek Hill run really fucking fast. And to them, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? Now, it's something that we know already. It's something that we know in this community, at least, very well. This is something we've talked about quite a bit. Police brutality is the norm in this country. Police have no fucking accountability whatsoever. Okay? Police also legally don't even have to save people, by the way. Like, the Supreme Court has ruled that they don't even have to fucking legally put their bodies on the line to save a human being, okay? So even the job description is fucking false. America, on the other hand, though, is like above and beyond with this insanity. Like, it's so much worse than every other country. That's why, like, European chatters will sometimes be like, what the fuck? Like, your cops are insane, okay? It's true. Like, police in other countries are shitty too, but god damn, we are a different breed out here, okay? And the reason why I say this is because of the way that this job is structured, okay? Like, the way that this job is structured means that you need to be an enforcer of the rules, okay? You need to always have, like, a level of authority in every sort of circumstance. And if you don't fucking train people on de-escalation, then of course, and you only train them on escalation, and then you also don't fucking turn around and enforce any sort of like regulation or accountability, then yeah, of course they're going to behave like this on a regular basis. A guy that does this willy-nilly in the middle of the fucking Dolphins, like, opening game to their star fucking wide receiver that just got like $140 million contract is doing it to everybody. Okay. You're out of your fucking mind. If you think this is a one-off. You have to be delusional if you think this is a one-off. You have to think that there's no 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour because it's 5 minutes into the top of the hour and you still haven't received it. No, they knew he was a player, chat. They knew. He did. Someone literally in the process says, "Oh, that's Tyreek Hill." The other guy has his ID. Remember, this body camera footage starts off with this cop with the window down. He gives his ID to the cop, and then he rolls the window back up. And then they get mad. They get big mad when he rolls his window up. Oh, God forbid you roll your window up. You can't do that. You can't fucking do that shit. Here's a 3-minute ad break now, by the way. Isn't the cop Mexican, though? No, dog. He's in Florida. He's Cuban. There was no reason for this level of escalation at any fucking point.
Your license? Hey, you're not going to give me your license? I'm leaving. Let me have your license. Your license right now. Sir, hey, your license right now. I'm leaving. Or I'm going to lock you up. Your license right now. He just told me to your license right now. You're dealing with me now. Sir. Your license right now.
Entitled little Nazis, dude. Straight up. Straight up. Entitled little Nazis. I'm going to lock you up. Bitch, you don't have that fucking power. Fuck you mean you're going to lock him up? Except he does. Okay? Pissing me off is an offense that where I can literally take your fucking life away. I can take your life away. I can take your freedoms away. Think about how easily he fucking wields this power. This is a person who is not thinking about, this is a person who has no consequences for this kind of action. Okay? He knows that there's no consequences for this kind of action. This is a unimaginable level of authority and level of power that we have given these people, and they're wielding it with like this sense of entitlement where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking put you in jail if you piss me off. That's crazy. That's crazy. These dumb fucks don't even have an inkling for self-preservation too, because they're doing this on a day where these guys are supposed to be playing football. These are public figures. Beloved public figures that you're doing this to. How does it get to this? It only gets to this when they're like, yeah, what are you going to do? Fucking I'll arrest you if you talk out of turn. Scumbags. All of them. Like, that's what I'm trying to explain to you. Anyway, then Tyreek did this after scoring a touchdown, by the way, which was pretty funny. Yeah, he ended up obviously playing in the game. Played well as far as I understand. And even fucking did this touchdown celebration, which I think he'll get punished for probably by the NFL. Like they'll hit him with a fine for this, I suspect. God forbid. And because it's Tyreek Hill, the police department obviously had to release a statement because remember, this is not just any random black man, okay? If it was any random black man, nobody would give a fuck. Let's be real, because it's the most expected fucking
120 it goes back, first and 10 to a turn of Van.
Put the Jets on. Statement from the Dolphins. We're saddened by the overly aggressive and violent conduct directed towards Tyreek Hill, Calais Campbell, and Jonnu Smith by police officers before yesterday's game. It is both maddening and heartbreaking to watch the very people we trust to protect our community use such unnecessary force and hostility towards these players. Yet it is also a reminder that not every situation like this ends in peace, as we are grateful this one did. What if I wasn't Tyreek Hill is a question that will carry with resounding impact. We are proud to have a strong and positive relationship with the Miami-Dade Police Department and other law enforcement agencies and recognize the vast majority of officers do serve the community with the utmost character and desire to protect all citizens. However, as is on full display in the videos released tonight, there are some officers who mistake their responsibility and commitment to serve a misguided power. Yeah, dude, it's a couple bad apples that are just like that and not the entire fucking structure, especially when there's no mechanism of enforcement, no regulatory bodies that are even remotely interested in like stopping this kind of fucking behavior. Meanwhile, this is what the Dolphins said. Here is what the Florida Police Benevolent Association said. As a personal attorney for Tyreek Hill, we would like to first thank all the fans, onlookers. Oh, this is the attorney for Tyreek Hill. This is his statement that he released. Mr. Hill's legal team is exploring all remedies that may be available to Mr. Hill, which, by the way, he has a shit ton. He could launch a civil suit against the Miami-Dade Police Department and sue them for hundreds of millions of dollars because, as it stands, when you arrest someone who is a fucking famous football player who was worth hundreds of millions of dollars to a fucking sports franchise that is worth billions of dollars, you are literally you're fucking up the bag. You're fucking up revenue potentially because you're violently arresting a fucking insured player who could have genuinely physically harmed him. You did physically harm him. You can't just get away with assaulting people. And this time, you fucked up. The funny thing is, of course, this happens all the time in significantly more egregious circumstances. And of course, taxpayers foot the bill, for the record, just so you know. You and I are paying for it. Okay? A decent chunk of that revenue, our taxable revenue, is going directly back to the police department so they can fucking pay off these goddamn fines whenever they get sued.
It's been hard for me not to find myself more upset the more I think about it.
Here's the Dolphins head coach, Mike McDaniel, speaking on the Tyreek Hill and Calais Campbell detainments.
And that's because of, my teammates and trying to put myself in that motion or in that situation that they've described emotionally. And then knowing more than that, I think the thing that fucks me up, honestly, to be quite frank, is knowing that I don't know what that feels like. I think it's very, very important that that two things should be true. That I think you let due process work and information to be gathered to appropriately project an opinion. However, that I can't get away from the fact of what I know their experience to be, and you try to put yourself. If I'm Calais Campbell and I'm 38 years old, and you're going to work, and then whatever personal innocence that you have relative to, he's never had, you're a gigantic, strong, just miraculous man that has done right in all way, shapes and forms. And there's just elements to that's very triggering. But I do think that it's supremely important to wait for information to be gathered before any rush to judgment. But regardless, I know the feelings expressed to me are not are unsettling. So it's but two things did come from the adversity. Super proud of teammates being teammates, and super proud of our guys understanding the civic responsibility of a platform and intending to do right by it.
For the record, Tyreek Hill, not a good dude, okay? The other dude, Calais Campbell, from what I understand, is a very good dude. Having said that, in this situation, the cops are so overboard and so obviously the fucking bad guy that it doesn't matter what Tyreek Hill has done in the past, okay? You can analyze that situation in terms of fucking police brutality and not have to pull the fucking rap sheet and background of a black man, because those guys are not doing that because they're like, oh yeah, you beat your wife and broke your fucking child's arm and that's why we're doing this to you. They're not doing that, okay? Matter of fact, cops probably do that at home anyway, okay? So his background is completely irrelevant in the subject matter. I mean, I obviously will bring that up later, but in analyzing the situation, on adequate terms, it's irrelevant. So anyway, here's what the South Florida Police Benevolent Association said. Before the Dolphins game yesterday, an incident occurred where Tyreek Hill was placed in handcuffs before being released. First, to be clear, at no time was he ever under arrest. He was briefly detained for officer safety after driving in a manner in which he was putting himself and others at great risk of danger. Okay? Upon being stopped, Mr. Hill was not immediately cooperative with the officers on scene who, pursuant to policy and for their immediate safety, placed Mr. Hill in handcuffs. Thank God for fucking body cameras, dude. Because, like, listen, I'm so goddamn old at this point. I'm 33. So, you know, I remember a time when this shit wasn't readily available. I remember a time when under the Barack Obama administration, Jim Comey, okay, was the FBI director who literally said police body camera footages, police being required to have body cams is actually going to increase police brutality. It's going to be bad. It's actually going to be the reason for more police brutality to occur without any sort of fucking real justification for it at all. So I remember a time when this shit wasn't readily available, that you couldn't fucking send a Freedom of Information Act request to actually get this body camera footage with ease. Miami Cuban native. Many of my fellow Cubans have always been racist, but Trump basically gave them the go-ahead to be mask off and change. And the change has been actually terrifying, especially considering how many forget to run the top of the hour ad break at 1 o'clock Western time. I already ran it. Miami Cuban native. Once the situation was sorted out in a few minutes, Mr. Hill was issued 2 traffic citations and was free to leave. Okay. They placed Mr. Hill in handcuffs. Mr. Hill, still uncooperative, refused to sit on the ground and therefore was redirected to the ground. Bitch, we saw the video. Okay. We saw the fucking video. He was redirected to the ground. You choked him from the back, dog. Get the fuck out of here. I hate these pieces of shit so much. There's so much hatred I have in my fucking heart. Okay. God damn, dude. Oh my Lord. And they do this all the fucking time. Okay. They do this all the goddamn time, for the record. And also, because of the additional amount of scrutiny, there's so much of a beautiful through line here with like Israel behavior. Ironic because, like, you know, the IDF does train American law enforcement. So maybe that's why they're so goddamn fucking entitled and behave in the exact same goddamn ways, for the record. Okay. Just something to consider here. Like the level of entitlement and just like the immediate lies that the police institutions and like they're protecting their institutions that protect police in instances where they're like behaving in this like irrational, violent manner. And the methods are identical to the fucking IDF and identical to Israel in general. Oh, we didn't do anything. They deserved it. That's why it's so funny when people were trying to do that whole like Israel is anti-black, fucking pro-Palestinians are anti-black. It's like, dude, it's identical. It's identical. And in some instances directly working with one another. It's collaborative. Okay. Just in, the Miami-Dade police officer who was placed on administrative duty after Tyreek Hill incident is Danny Torres. Torres is also on the board of directors of the South Florida Police Benevolent Association. I've learned he's been with the Miami-Dade Police Department for 27 years. Holy fuck. If you look at his background, bro, oh my God. If he's that high up, you know his ass has fucking killed a couple people at least. For the record, this has nothing to do with him being Cuban. Please, guys. Your race, your racial or your ethnic background is completely irrelevant in this conversation. It is. Because black cops do this shit too. What the fuck are you talking about? It is about being a cop, okay? That is the higher priority here. Because it is a part of the job, a part of the culture, a part of the training. You see this part of the body camera footage?
I'm just being a black man, that's it. I'm just being black in America, bro. That's it.
Yeah, immediately. Wasn't he like going 60 over the speed limit in a nice car? Who cares what color you are? That's going to get you pulled over. No, he wasn't going 60 over the speed limit. He was going 60, not over the speed limit. Immediately, dude, the bootlicking fucking mentality from cop lovers, undefeated, okay? Unfucking defeated. Immediately, they're like, oh, well, you know, well, let's just lie. Let's just fucking sit here and lie to try and justify why this is a permissible act by the police. Every single time, dude. Oh, cops must be doing the right thing. He should have just followed the orders. God, it's just such pathetic fucking bootlicking behavior. Matt Walsh again with the most deranged take. As we see yet again with the Tyreek Hill situation, the left's position is that a black man should be able to say and do literally anything he wants when confronted by police, and he can never be held responsible for what actually happens as a result of his own belligerence. Someone was saying you got to look at Charlie Kirk's tweet. What did he say? You know you got a fucked up view on the world when you have sports Twitter disagreeing with you. Even those dumbasses know this is abuse of power in the grossest way. Fuck Matt Walsh, Lamau. Yeah. The bootlegging is so bad they're even telling cops they're wrong. As a retired chief, I will say that that one officer escalated that pretty unnecessarily. I can absolutely see why he's on administrative leave. That's not how you handle that situation. He should have attempted to de-escalate by explaining why he needed him out of the car. Sorry, I disagree completely. There's no reason to tell anyone why. Give an order and it should be obeyed. This is part of what is wrong in America today. Everyone thinks they can just do what they want. It isn't the case and shouldn't be. Again, I'm a 20-year officer that just retired as a chief. I did not have one single personnel complaint on my file and not one excessive use of force complaint. I have plenty of experience with compliant and non-compliant individuals throughout my career. I don't really care. He was never going to comply. He was a dick from the first interaction. He had multiple units behind him telling me he didn't pull over right away. Did he have to be put to the ground? No, but FAFO, fuck around and find out. Kids, turn off the car, roll down your window, keep your hands on the wheel, obey the officer's commands. If you don't, they will assume you're about to attack them. It's not that hard. 54,000 likes. Oh my God. This is a psyop to divide us racially in an election year because Kamala is polling poorly with black men, 100% manufactured. I like Tyreek Hill as an athlete, but if he didn't speed and he didn't roll up his window, this isn't a story. Is there ever an instance where cops are in the wrong? Can they just do whatever they want? I mean, the answer is yes, by the way. This is a rhetorical question. In the eyes of the motherfucking Republicans, cops can never do wrong. Like they can just kill and get away with it, and they will absolutely justify whatever kind of violent and completely irrational behavior the police are fucking engaging in, even if it's done to a figurehead that is even if it's done to a public figure, okay? Public figure that they might even like, especially if they're black, okay? There's just nothing they can do that will meet that metric of like, maybe this is a bridge too far. That's great, man. All right, let's watch
big developments
how
in the
mainstream media is covering
police
this.
stop of NFL superstar Tyreek Hill. Miami-Dade police released body cam footage from the officers who pulled over Hill's car for allegedly speeding before Sunday's game. It shows how quickly the Miami Dolphins player was
Forward.
The newly released footage shows a Miami-Dade police officer ordered Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill to pull over just outside Hard Rock Stadium Sunday.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man. Don't knock on
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt
Knock
on?
on my window like that, no.
After handing the officer his license,
Talk to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Hill then rolls his driver's side window back up while officers demand he keep it down.
Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car.
Then at least one officer swings open Hill's car. As he lies face down, one officer appears to have one knee on his back as he
Dude, and when in contact with law enforcement, you should be asked of yourself, what can I control in this interaction being my own demeanor? Never give cops a reason to exploit you. If they do, they already had it in mind regardless of your behavior. That shit doesn't change the dynamic at all, brother. Okay? That's fucking ridiculous. I hate that kind of servile fucking attitude that people have. And there are literally people that routinely do this shit in my chat too. So they'll be like, oh, dude, well, he gave him lip. It's not like he refused to fucking comply in any meaningful capacity. He just pulled his fucking window up. Okay? The fuck do you mean? You think that warrants this kind of behavior? That's insane. Nah, fuck that, dude. Oh, you should just always comply. And then sometimes, even then, they still want to fucking kill you, and there's not really much you can do about it. But at least you complied. You can die knowing that you, did the right thing all the way to the last moment. Like, that's ridiculous. They should not, like, we're not in the business of, like, when I'm doing systemic analysis, I'm not in the business of, like, looking at the individual actions here. I'm looking at accountability measures, mechanisms of enforcement to ensure that this doesn't ever happen. Because a cop that does this publicly to a fucking Dolphins player on the day of the Dolphins game, like 20 minutes before the fucking game, is going to do that to random people on a daily basis. It's crazy. They're literally, I think you're wrong about this one, man. Can't roll tinted windows on cops. It's just stupid. No, dude, you're stupid. And not only are you stupid, but behaving like a fucking servile dog, okay? I'm sorry. It is ridiculous, dude. It is fucking ridiculous. You think they know who he is? You think he's going to evade law enforcement? They know who he is. Like, why are we just robbing everything of the context in the situation? They know exactly who the fuck he is. He gave them his license. Even if he's not Tyreek motherfucking Hill, when a person goes, here you go, sir, here's my license, and then rolls the window back up, do you think that the person is going to just like come out with a fucking automatic machine gun and just start fucking blasting cops? Why the fuck did they give the license then? Like, think. You think he's just going to roll the window up and then drive off?
It was only a few hours before the season's opening game. Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was 1 block away from Miami's Hard Rock Stadium.
By the way, the reason why he probably fucking rolled his tinted windows up, because, you know, logically speaking, I can make the assessment. I don't even know what his reasoning for it is, but I assume it was so that he doesn't fucking get filmed. Okay? Because all of the Dolphins fans are currently driving into the fucking stadium. Okay? It's an embarrassing situation for everyone involved. The cops, the player, the franchise. So he probably was like, yeah, I rolled my window up so people didn't fucking know that I was getting arrested before the goddamn game.
When he was stopped by police, he was pulled from his car, surrounded by multiple officers, thrown to the ground. A knee was put in his back, and he was handcuffed. Now, tonight, after public outcry, and a lot of it, the Miami Police Department is releasing body camera footage of the incident, and it is disturbing to watch. Take a look.
Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car.
Like, you're a human being, dog. Talk to this person to person. Okay? But if you're popping off like this, if this is your first reaction to another human being, like, because we intrinsically have this attitude where, like, cops are a figurehead of authority, and therefore there's no, like, line of communication where you can have a normal conversation, human to human, person to person. Everybody, no matter how fucking leftist they are or whatever, genuinely has this, like, weird attitude about it. Okay? Because we have been primed into this expectation that, like, they're just not human. They're a natural phenomena. They are going to do whatever the fuck they want to do in this circumstance. They're human beings, dog. They have the same fucking rights that you do, okay? You have rights in this situation. And a lot of people have bludgeoned that out of their fucking brains. Like, you can have a normal conversation. It's called de-escalation, okay? They're not wild animals. They're not feral fucking animals. It's sad because even legal says, from the perspective of the law, doing anything against an officer's command, no matter what they are, from what I know, will make it harder to take any legal action or hell, procure any kind of legal defense in case they sue you. Yeah, I mean, I don't give a shit. And also, I don't necessarily agree either. Okay? Because the compliance already occurred in this circumstance. The compliance was when he asked for his license and he gave the cops his license, okay? Rolling your fucking window back up and then the cops having, like, an entitled attitude in this circumstance after he is already immediately pulled over, gives his fucking license, is ridiculous. The cops are the ones who are escalating the situation. It's crazy that, like, our immediate expectation in this circumstance is just like, yeah, dog, they're just wild animals. We can't do anything about it. They're just fucking rabid dogs.
As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me your ass, Get out of the car. Give me your ass, we'll break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. You do it. You understand? You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you.
About a minute after this, and once Hill was handcuffed, he was again forced to the cement.
I just had surgery on my knee. Bro.
That is, again, another fucking infraction, okay? He states to the cop, who knows who he is, by the way, so, like, that makes it even crazier, that he has surgery on his knee, okay? Again, if this was still a random black man, okay, an accountant that has been pulled over, it's still completely unacceptable. You understand? Like, again, this is a human being talking to what I suspect is another human being, okay? Like, when a human being tells you, like, hey, man, like, I have a problem with my knee, like, I can't lay down like this. This behavior is completely fucking unacceptable.
Tonight, Tyreek Hill speaking for the first time since that body camera video was released right here on CNN.
If I wasn't Tyreek Hill, worst case scenario, we would have had a different article.
Tyreek Hill, got shot in front of Hard Rock Stadium.
The Miami Police Department says that they released this footage earlier than usual, quote, to reinforce the department's commitment to keeping the public informed. They've also placed one of the officers involved on administrative duties, that's important, while an investigation is being conducted. And the police union, they are defending the officers, saying that Hill was, quote, not
shocking,
immediately cooperating with the officers.
Do you think this is mainly a racism issue or a bruised ego issue? It's a bit of both. I think the race factors into how your ego is bruised. But yeah, I think it's a larger systemic problem beyond anything else, okay? It's not an accident that this shit happens on a daily fucking basis 1,000 times a day in the United States of America, okay? Like, it all factors into this, but I think if you're going to look at like the largest share of responsibility of how we got here, it is directly because this is how police are expected to operate. And a lot of people love that shit. Okay. A lot of people demand it. And some people demand more of it, Republicans. And there is no mechanism of accountability. Because if there was some level of accountability, then they wouldn't be behaving like this. They do this kind of stuff. There is a culture of impunity. Exactly. This is in the training, like, and ultimately they get away with it because most of the people that they do this to aren't fucking Tyreek Hill on the way to the game. And they are operating in the exact same way that the only way that they know how to operate.
On scene who, pursuant to policy and for their immediate safety, placed Mr. Hill in handcuffs. Joining me now, Stephen A. Smith, the host of First Take on ESPN, is also the host of the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube. Stephen A., I have to know what your reaction was when you saw the body camera video, not just what we heard about it, but when you actually saw it.
And before people say like, oh, these are just like a couple bad apples, like, no, dude, there is at most a couple good apples, okay, in the entire fucking bunch. The entire bunch is spoiled, okay? This is the training. This is the expectation. This is the culture. This is the legal structure. A legal structure that does not enforce any level of accountability for these people behaving this way, because that is the expectation. If this is how you train them, and then this is how you expect them to act, and then this is when they do act that way in the expected way, you don't actually punish them, because why would you? You want them to do this kind of thing. Then of course they're going to fucking behave like this all the goddamn time. That's it. That's it. What's the expectation? That's why I always say, in my mind, okay, are there people who join the fucking force with good intentions? Absolutely. Okay. I'm sure you know a couple people. I'm sure you've even tracked how those people have changed their attitude and their behavior over the course of like many, many years of being in the police force. Okay. People do. People absolutely join the police force with good intentions, with honest intentions. Why? Because that's how fucking media reinforces policing. It says protect and serve on the side of their fucking cars. It's like literally baked into the system. People think, oh, I'm going to join. I'm going to be a cop because I want to be a good guy. I want to fucking stop bad guys. Okay. But then the system is designed to take those guys and turn them into fucking animals. Okay. And those who remain good guys in that process oftentimes get fucking fired anyway. They either get fired or they quit or killed. So that's what you need to understand here. Okay. Like, even if you know the nicest guy, okay, who's like, I want to be a cop for good reasons. Do you have anything to back up your claims? Like, which claims do you want me to back up in terms of like police brutality being an expected outcome in most normal police procedural circumstances in the United States of America, as opposed to like any other nation on the planet? Or that we have an entire culture of policing being like a good thing, a good institution, an institution that protects people, backed up by Hollywood and the media for understandable reasons. About the good guys getting forced out? Yes, I do. I actually have, I have a couple pretty, I mean, if you Google police brutality Hassan good cops or whatever, you'll find it. I've covered this a bunch of times. Yeah, this is one of the most famous instances. I believe this is from 9 Minutes in Weirton. This is a vet who joins the police force afterwards, refuses to shoot someone who was trying to do a suicide by cop, and then he's fired because he was like, I see what was going on. I see what was happening. Stephen Mader, 25-year-old rookie officer with the Weirton Police Department, got the radio call from dispatch. Had a female stating she was at 119 Mary Avenue. She sounded hysterical, hung up the phone, would not answer on a call back. Weirton, a city of 20,000 in the state's northern panhandle, was quiet at that hour. It took Mader alone in his patrol car just over 3 minutes to get close to 119 Main. It's right here, the young man said. Why, what's up? The woman inside 119 Main called 911 again. It was 2:57. Her name was Bethany Gilmer. R.J. Williams, her ex-boyfriend and the father of their baby, had a gun. She told the dispatcher, but the gun was not loaded, she said. He'd taken the magazine out. He was drunk. He doesn't have a clip in the gun, Gilmer told the dispatcher. He said he was going to threaten the police with it so they would shoot him. Mader by then had gotten out of his patrol car. The only light came from nearby street lamps. Okay? He goes up. He's the first he's the first responding officer. He starts trying to talk to the guy. Okay? Show me your fucking hands, Mader says. Why you gotta cuss at me, Williams said. When Williams last showed his hands, a silver and black Smith & Wesson pistol rested in his right palm. His arm hung at the side. The gun pointed at the ground. He started to back up along a narrow sidewalk leading to the house. Mader drew his weapon and moved to take cover behind the car parked in front of 119 Main. Put the gun down, Mader said. I can't do that. I don't want to shoot you, brother, Mader said. Put the gun down. Just shoot me, Williams said. To Mader, Williams sounded choked up. The Smith & Wesson didn't move from his side. It was still pointing at the sidewalk. It was 2:58. Just shoot me, Williams said again. Second unit comes in, immediately blasts him. Okay? Immediately fucking blasts him. Immediately. They fire the first responding officer for not shooting him. One of the most famous instances, of course, of a cop that did not fit in with the overtly violent culture, the trained to kill culture, the warrior culture that officers are trained around the entire nation, was a man by the name of Christopher Dorner. You might know him from memes online when people say, can't corner the Dorner, okay? Can't corner Dorner. Christopher Corner Dorner. Chris Dorner was an interesting guy, little wild, okay? Notice there was a fucked culture. He was a big rule guy, maybe a little autistic about abiding by the rules. Notice that there was racial discrimination happening in the department, wanted to fucking call it out. Wanted to call it out, and they made his life a living hell. So he wrote a fucking manifesto and went after law enforcement in the state of California in a, dare I say, very aggressive manner. They lit him on fire in a cabin. Oh, also in the process of trying to find him, they actually shot up a pickup truck of a Hispanic family, mother-daughter, who were selling newspapers. Luckily, they survived, but they fucking literally shot the absolute living shit out of that pickup truck, thinking that Dorner was in it. The truck literally wasn't even the truck that Dorner was driving around in, by the way. What's with the whole thing, trying to be edgy using autistic in that way? Can't he just be strict? Cops ended up shooting 3 bystanders total while looking for him. And no, it's not even a joke. He literally was autistic. The fuck do you mean? I think his biggest mistake was going after the families of law enforcement. That was definitely, above and beyond for sure. But overall, they tracked them down into a cabin in the woods and lit the fucking cabin on fire. Of course, they were saying that he was targeting their families. Chatter, this isn't a DSA meeting. Shut up. Yeah, there was another LAPD cop that got killed in training by fellow officers for whistleblowing a rape. That happened like a couple years ago, maybe 1 or 2 years ago. So plenty of stories about whistleblowers within policing and the way that they are dealt with. And even though these stories are in the fucking margins, okay? Even though these stories are in the margins, overall, the culture of enforcement and the culture of violence across the board is so prevalent that you rarely ever even have stories of naysayers in general. Okay? Serpico, yeah. Oh, there was actually a weird Dorner update. New details emerge after Christopher Dorner gun found in the hands of Venezuelan gang. I briefly saw a headline for this. Full circle Hasanabi lore. Yeah. Let's
and
continue.
I remember a phrase you used earlier today, and it stuck with me. The ease of dehumanization. What was your reaction?
Well, I still feel that way from the standpoint that, it was excessive. It was completely unnecessary on the part of the officers, particularly and specifically when he was handcuffed. And so I stand by everything that I said earlier this morning on ESPN's First Take and, of course, my YouTube show,
Thank you.
Stephen A.
A Cap for Cutie. Thank you for the 10 tier 1 gift of subs.
Smith Show. I meant what I said when I said it was just unnecessary. And it just speaks to the ease with which black men can be dehumanized, because you've seen situations where people who happen to not be black have had issues with the police. And yes, they may end up in handcuffs and they be taken away, similar to what happened to golfer Scotty Scheffler in Kentucky a few months ago in May. But he was detained. He was put in handcuffs. He was detained. He was taken away. He was arrested. That certainly was not the case with Tyreek Hill, but in the same breath.
From happening, an entirely different set of standards where you, again, similar to fucking Israel, where you hold the letter of the law, like you hold police officers accountable to abide by the standards set by the law. If protecting and serving is your immediate responsibility, then you should do that. Okay? It's the same principle behind like what America should do in terms of giving unlimited weapons transfers to Israel. Hold up the law. There's existing law here. Okay? The Leahy law is the standard. If the country that we're giving weapons to is violating human rights, Israel certainly is, then you're no longer allowed. It's illegal to give weapons to Israel. Just like if your immediate attitude here is to escalate and harm someone when your job is to fucking protect them, then yeah, you're gonna get fired. You should actually not only get fired, but also go to jail. Okay? Accountability. It's that simple. Accountability, a mechanism of enforcing said accountability. Okay? Having civil leaders and whatnot be responsible, like some force that is outside of the like other law enforcement, taking a look at these circumstances, entirely changing the way that police are trained to force them to de-escalate, especially at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break. The greatest de-escalatory mechanism there, of course, is subscribing for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Internal Affairs, Omni Valor. Wait, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, that's why I said no, not other members of law enforcement, okay? Not other members of law enforcement. Internal Affairs is ass. It's other cops. It's police policing other police. It just obviously it demonstrably doesn't fucking work because that exists already. Technica, thank you for the 5 tier 1 gift of subs. There's a 3-minute ad break now. Test the lying is a federal offense, but cops never get tried for it, even though they're caught red-handed. They're caught in the court of law on record. Yep. It's so goddamn commonplace, as a matter of fact, that like there is a term for it. Like you said, it's called test the lying. When you lie on the stand. I don't know if you already answered this, but is the policeman not going to be fired or given some sort of punishment? Surely something must happen. Incredibly doubtful, especially considering how high up he is in the Fraternal Order of Police, or rather the Police Benevolence Association in South Florida. So very, very, very unlikely, even though this is an incredibly high profile incident, he will at most get like some kind of like administrative leave or something. Guys, this nation is so fucked that the cop who fucking shot and killed Daniel Shaver in that hallway in that hotel, I believe in Arizona, is permanently getting paid by the state for PTSD, okay? For post-traumatic stress disorder that he got for shooting and killing Daniel Shaver, who was on his fucking hands and knees begging not to be assassinated, with a gun that he had, his own personal gun, that on the side had the words etched, "You're fucked." Okay? He brought his own gun to work and he fucking shot and killed this man. And then not only did he get away scot-free, okay? His AR-15 ejection port cover said, "Get fucked." Exactly. Not only did he get away scot-free, he also is still being paid by the Arizona state for post-traumatic stress disorder because he was really sad he shot and killed Daniel Shaver. Okay? That's the way that the law currently works. Now, you tell me if that shit is appropriate.
It speaks to the excessive behavior of the police officers, but in fairness to police officers everywhere, and specifically those police officers there, when this latest body cam footage was released and we saw it, let me remind everybody, they did ask him to roll down his window, not one, not twice, but at least 3 times. Then they also asked him to get out of the car. In each instance, there was hesitation on his part and a lack of cooperation. So when they say he was uncooperative, you can see why they feel that way. Now, again, I want to emphasize, that's no...
God, Stephen A. Smith, like, how are you like this all the time? I don't know how he, like, mathematically arrives at the fucking worst point, even when he's in the process of making a good point. Oh, my Lord, dude. It is nutty. I mean, he is. He's conservative. He just is. He's a sports guy. The fuck do you expect? Yeah, I mean, he is conservative.
No reason for them to go as far as they did. But in the same breath, him saying that he didn't know what he did and that he didn't do anything wrong, well, that's not entirely true.
I don't understand why it's a bad point. It's a bad point because nothing that you have to judge the actions that the perpetrator took by the retaliation that the police brought on him. Okay? Action and reaction. It's completely unacceptable.
Black man in America, I will remind everybody to put it down, because when you don't do something like that, we have seen and we have had a reason to sense that the worst possible thing could happen. Tyreek Hill did not do that. So when they say he was uncooperative, they did have a point with the latest body cam footage we saw.
And yet, Stephen A. Smith, and you articulated a few points. I'm going to address them in turn. One, on the idea of cooperation. There are many people who would say there are instances of people fully cooperating, doing nothing wrong. And the lesson that is imparted around Black and brown people around this country is there is no escaping those officers who endeavor to commit excessive force against you. That's from not all officers, but those who endeavor to do so. And the second point is, it strikes a lot of people that this was an ego issue, not one of force. I'm talking about for the officers. Officers are entitled to use force to repel a force used against them. But it seemed as though what they were reacting to was an attitude that they perceived, and they were reacting to the fact that he was slow in his efforts. This is not the same thing, though, as one feeling that they actually are in danger, and that's the criteria.
Well, that is the criteria. And you being a...
For me, I feel like hating Jason Whitlock as much as he does and then doing this shit is never not going to be funny for me. I don't know. Like, this man despises Jason Whitlock. It's just so funny that he still has this, like, well, you know, it is what it is. Cops are going to behave like this. You can't do anything about it. Why? Because Jason Whitlock is a white supremacist. He's a black sports commentator who also happens to be a straight up white supremacist. And also Stephen A. Smith's like mortal enemy.
Lawyer by profession, you would know better than me. I'm not refuting a syllable of what you said. I completely support it 1,000%. And as a black man in America who's been pulled over, who's been cuffed, who's been detained, who's been thrown in jail for a traffic violation. Yes, it happened to me in Troy, Michigan many years ago. I know exactly what you're talking about, and you're absolutely 1,000% on the money.
I guess they're not so far off after all. Tyreek Hill knows there's no standard for him. If he knew there would be pushback, he wouldn't claim that he just ignored the police. There's no demand for intelligent behavior for black men. He's just going a little bit harder. There's no amount of like there's just no reason to fucking defend the cops in this circumstance.
But that's not what we're talking about here, because we're not acting as if the officer is right. Even though they made a point when they said he was a bit cooperative, it still doesn't negate the reality that their physical behavior was completely unnecessary. How they acted towards Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith, his teammates, was completely unnecessary. Even though they didn't identify themselves as his teammates, they identified themselves as his friend. It was all unnecessary. It was all beyond the pale. It was all completely unnecessary, and in one officer's case, it was definitely excessive. But what we're talking about is the importance of black men being able to go home, being able to avoid putting themselves in a position where you can have a rogue police officer whose ego might be a bit compromised, who has a temper tantrum because they're dealing with whatever it is that they're dealing with, and they may be taking it out on a patron or
America's is a permacuck, bro. That's it.
He's handcuffed. Two of Hill's teammates pulled up to the scene.
All right, we know what the situation is, but here,
Campbell
let's
were
hear it.
released in time for the team's matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
There was a lack of cooperation from Mr. Hill.
Rodney Harrison, a former police commissioner on Long Island, believes officers acted fairly.
It fortunately led to a point where
If you're wondering why media is like permacucked, or if you're wondering why your fellow citizens don't understand that like this kind of behavior is completely irrational, look no further than CBS Mornings' accurate, fair, and balanced reporting on the subject matter. Now imagine, remember what you said? Oh, is this like because they're Cuban and he's black or whatever? Like, remember that. That's a black man. That's deliberate, okay? They put a black man there to specifically say these words to defend the cops.
Unfortunately led to a point where he had to be pulled out of the vehicle, handcuffed, and put on the sidewalk while a lot of different vehicles were driving by, and probably turned to a little bit of an embarrassment moment for him.
Hill recounted that moment in a CNN interview Monday night.
I wasn't moving fast because, I got injuries. You feel me? I got things that I go through. I guess the officers, they felt like I wasn't doing it on their timing, but I was doing it. But, man, I'm still kind of shell-shocked from it, man. I'm embarrassed.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Jerika Duncan.
It seems like it escalated so fast. And oftentimes we talk about these situations happening, and the question that I keep asking myself is, why isn't there better de-escalating tactics that these officers can use? Because it can spill over into something deadly, as we've seen before.
I don't know.
Man,
I look at that tape, and I wish they both would have handled it differently, to be honest with you. I think that when the officer, he first said to the officer, "Don't knock on my window," which instantly sets him off. He rolls up the window, which also sets him off, when really they both could have handled it differently. But the officer is supposed to be the professional and should figure out a way to de-escalate the situation. But I look at that tape, I feel very differently.
God, I fucking hate mainstream media so much, bro. This is why, chap.
Now to the Middle East, because
if you're wondering how people develop this kind of like insane, completely irrational behavior, how they get to this fucking point, it's because you literally have people saying shit like this. And that's supposed to be like mainstream media. That's supposed to be like the objective news coverage and commentary on the matter. It's ridiculous, dude. You have to look at the action and you have to look at the reaction, okay? Look at the action, look at the reaction. The responsibility is on the hands of the party that is the public servant, okay? That literally can take your life away in any given moment. Like, that bar is supposed to be so fucking high. Like, these people that have unimaginable power, unchecked power, should not be wielding that shit willy-nilly. Like, that's crazy. But yes, mainstream media is constantly creating permission structures within which police can act with impunity. And that is precisely the reason why so many people that you fucking know will then repeat that shit without even thinking about it, without thinking about like what that means. Okay, what that spells for them, what kind of like power structure they are defending. Friend of the show, Dan Le Batard, this is what he said.
You guys, though, is legitimately, are you allowed to be surprised by this? Because it feels like if you're surprised by this video, you have not been paying attention at all to what's been happening in America as we head to another voting cycle. Like, I really asked the question sincerely. Are you allowed? Like, hey, white people, Like they ran Kaepernick, they ran him out of the league, like for saying, hey, white people. Like, I don't know how surprised you're allowed to be by this video because Rodney King was a long time ago. Like the lessons of Rodney King. What is that? Is that late 80s?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, early 90s. We should also outline it's not just white people, it's law enforcement officials. There's a prejudice with law enforcement officials. In this video, from what we can tell, mostly Hispanic police officers. There's a huge issue with policing in this country. There's a huge issue with policing in Miami-Dade County. And I'm hopeful this will bring about change.
It won't. Because they're cops. That's the higher priority. When you're a cop, like your own personal background, your ethnic background, like that is entirely irrelevant to the subject matter. You know what I mean? You're a cop. That's it. That's what you are in that situation. You're behaving in a cop-like way. Isn't it important that if some random black dude, he could have died? Black people tell their children not to be subservient because it's the reality you can get shot for having an attitude, not because they like the cops. Yeah. But if we're analyzing the situation, if we're looking at the situation from the perspective of like what's right and what's wrong, I'm never going to fucking victim blame. Okay? That person is a victim of police brutality. Okay? That's what it is. I'm not going to sit here and fucking victim blame. Here's Bomani Jones. I love Bomani Jones.
Son, kind of minding my own business, getting back into swinging things.
This is the last thing I'm going to talk about before we get to Israel and some other shit. I got to go. Hold on one second.
Cops was messing with Tyreek Hill. Didn't really know. Somebody just told me that the cops was messing with Tyreek Hill. I ran a search. The next thing I know, Tyreek Hill is on his back, on the ground, handcuffed, and the cops is standing over him. Now, when you start talking about Tyreek Hill and the cops being involved, that's one of those where you walk up and you need to be like, hold on. Somebody take me back to the very beginning, right? Like, there's no telling exactly how we wound up here, except it's his Lamborghini is down the street from the stadium, and now he's face down on the ground, handcuffed, and it didn't pass the smell test, what wound up happening there. Then Calais Campbell, who one of the largest humans in the history of humanness. He shows up because he sees his man's getting messed with by the cops, and he comes in and is trying to get some answers, trying to defuse the situation. He winds up being in handcuffs. And then eventually all parties involved were taken out of their handcuffs, and then they went to the game, and then they played in the game, and then the Dolphins won the game, and Tyreek Hill scored a touchdown. And when Tyreek Hill scored the touchdown, he did a thing where he acted like he was handcuffed, and he had somebody come unhandcuff him, which, I mean, I guess you have to do something, I suppose. Like, I don't know. Look, man, I don't know what to tell that man to do after that situation under those circumstances or whatever it was, right? Like, I don't know what exactly there is to say. There was a couple of interesting things that came out of it. One, Sean, do we have this Tyreek talking before the media after the game, kind of giving his side of what went down with the cops?
Right now, you know, so I've been trying to figure that out too. Man. Right now, I'm still trying to put it all together. So I'm not gonna give you a version that I still don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to be able to use this platform to say, like, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, bro? Like, worst case scenario, you know, because it's crazy. Like, I want to be a cop one day. I got a state trooper, had all that, you know, so I got a lot of respect.
Stop right there. Did he just say he want to be a cop?
And he has his state trooper's like certification or something.
Hey. He said he got a hat. He said he got a state trooper hat. He got this motherfucker looking like Smokey the Bear talking about he want to be a cop. And like, I saw Cocaine Cowboys. I know that back in the day in Miami, it could be very easy for you to be a police officer. But Sean, I'm going to just throw it out there, brother. I don't think Tyreek Hill could pass the background check.
You know, I think Shaq as a cop makes somewhat sense, but Tyreek Hill, I don't see it lining up.
Yeah, I don't. I just don't think. I think that once they start asking some questions, it becomes a little difficult for them. Yeah, he. Okay, so that is what he said. Now we have a clip from Javon Holland, and I always, before we get to Javon's clip, I always say this. I talked to Javon in 2020 when I was doing a story about the united movements of college athletes. The Pac-12 United, all that stuff that was going on when they were trying to unionize in some form or fashion and get what they was looking for. And I can't tell you how impressed I was by this dude when he was 21 years old, or however old he was then. I was kind of blown away by how impressive he was. But anyway, this is what he had to say after the game.
Before the game.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was stretching and I seen on the TV, bro got arrested. And then I seen the clip, cop kicked him or something like that. It was crazy. So that's got to get handled. You know what I'm saying? Excessive force on a black man, that's not uncommon. It's a very common thing in America. So I think that needs to be addressed at a countrywide level. So yeah, I don't think that shit is cool at all. But it's not unnatural or not uncommon for cops to do that type of shit, especially the black man. So that needs to be addressed for sure.
And I appreciated him making that point as directly as he made that point. This is also where you remind everybody kind of the contradiction of, remember Stephen Ross? Stephen Ross was the one that was really trying to get boys to stop kneeling, their owner. And Stephen Ross is definitely on the Trump team. That's his ball game. But he also runs this this organization called Rise that's supposed to be helping cut down on the racism in sports, And I heard what Holland had to say right there. And it just wanted me to get back up and ask the question, hey, do you remember when we used to care about the police beating people up and killing them? You remember that? Because it used to be a really big thing. It dawned on me. August 9th.
Bro, did you hear he wants to be a cop? Wait, who? Tyreek Hill said he wants to be a cop? I mean, that tracks with his background. That tracks with his priors. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. I don't want to come across like I'm fucking victim blaming in this circumstance, but not exactly surprising.
9th of this year was the 10th anniversary of Mike Brown being killed in Ferguson, Missouri. So yesterday is 10 years and 30 days away from that moment. And we've had the Kaepernick situation that went on in between and everything else. But from the way that we are acting about this, because I find that by and large, the way that I've seen the commentary about this in sports media go had a lot more to do with football than anything else. It was almost treated in that uncomfortable way that you were treated when Kobe Bryant would go to court and then come back and score 35, right? It became almost part of the narrative of the sports stuff. But let me tell you something. Calais Campbell, by my estimation, risked his life to go inquire what was going on there. And you know why I say he risked his life to go inquire what was going on there? Because that dude is 6'8" and 300 and something pounds. And my first thought would be when Snuffleupagus gets rolled up, today was gonna lay his big ass down. That was my number one thought there. That would be terrifying. That big dude, that's terrifying. And he come over there with that voice, hey, what's going on over here? I was scared to death. And hearing that something could easily wind up happening to him, because those are what the stakes are. And we had all these discussions about what the stakes were. And we had all this talk for all this time about police violence, generally and specifically against black people. But we had all this talk about this. It is my understanding that the numbers around those things are roughly the same. They're roughly the same. We had George Floyd died 4 years ago, and that incident, which took place around, it was a little, I want to say it was, what was that, May, and then Jacob Blake was in August. But anyway, we had the George Floyd situation in 2020, which was largely, it was clearly about police brutality, but as many people have documented and discussed in the aftermath, that the concessions that people managed to receive in the midst of all that outrage in 2020, it wasn't about police brutality. It was about things that happened and went down at your middle class office, So I get back to the question, do we still care about the police roughing people up? And if we do still care about police roughing people up, what are we supposed to do at this point? Because what seemed to happen was people just kind of ran out of energy. A lot of people ran out of energy, and this big one that you can't lose sight of, a lot of the more visible people at the front of this came into a lot of money. There's no way around that. But I really stopped, as this happened, and it made me stop and think back to 10 years ago, what a major thing something like this would have been, and how the sports media at that time was very well equipped to have people get on television and get on everything else and talk about what went on. And we were talking about it in these sorts of macro levels. Now, I think a few things happened. One, I think especially after COVID, people's capacity for outrage and their energy for it is a lot lower, and they don't really have it in them to dial it up and be charged up, at least not about things that matter. You can definitely get charged up about the bullshit topic du jour on the internet. I definitely see that people have the energy to do that one. I don't think they have the energy really to get invested in the things that like really matter anymore. But it was hard to ignore the difference in the way that we would treat such a thing. And this, again, this is a Hall of Fame football player being stopped on the way to a game. Maybe it'd be.
By the way, this is something I've talked about quite a bit with like other members of the media when they interview me and stuff. And I think for a lot of young people during COVID, they had the energy, they had the momentum, and they saw nothing. Mass demonstrations stopped dead in their fucking tracks with no concessions made for the reasonable demands. And they were put in the crosshairs as though they were spoilers for the election. And I think after that, they were like, all right, I'm totally checked out of the political process. I did everything right. I voted. I protested. I voted. Nothing happened. I don't even think it's like I can now go back to not paying attention to shit. I think it's more so for a lot of people who went out to those protests. They were like, their expectation was that like the needle would move in this direction, in this reasonable fucking direction. And in this duopoly, our politicians on the liberal side straight up fucking said, our politicians on the liberal side turned around and fucking said, no, you are the real enemy. These defund the police protesters. They are the real problem, not the police. So why the fuck anybody ever do anything?
Treated differently, and we'd look at it differently if it had been something that stopped him from actually being able to compete. I'm not sure. Maybe we'd go about it a little bit different if the person getting hemmed up by the cops was a little bit more of a sympathetic figure. I think that all those things maybe go into it, but I think it is hard to look at this and not stop and look back and be like, we kind of gave up. We did. Even with the Kaepernick discussion, after a point, the Kaepernick discussion stopped being about police brutality and became about Colin getting his job back, which really wasn't the point ever in this, right? So I'm not saying this with but so much judgment, because I'm not out here talking about the cops and what they're doing in the ways that I did at that time either, right? I feel like I kind of read the room and realized that I wasn't going to be heard anymore, that the capacity to do it was gone. So I could understand lots of reasons that lots of people would have dialed it back if they so decided. But I think we need to really get engaged.
Dog, the Democratic Party said the only vote forward is the guy who wrote the crime bill and his vice president who used to be a fucking cop. After mass protests all around the planet, not just in the United States of America, everywhere else. How the fuck do you expect people to turn around and be like, well, I still have hope in this system. You did everything right. You did everything right. And what did you get? What do you have to show for it? Nothing. Maybe criminal record, as a matter of fact. If you got arrested at any of these fucking protests.
In a certain measure of introspection about a lot of this, man. Like what it is that we care about, what it is that we don't care about, and how we just kind of stopped caring about this. How somehow this stopped being a thing that was worth our collective time and energy. Because it's all still going down. They still messing with us. They still jamming us up. They still doing all of the things. We're just not as mad about it anymore. What's up with that? The NFL is back, which means you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your...
Oh my God. Damn it, Bomani Jones. Why you got to do that to me? All right, let's get to another story that is damn near identical, Israel. But before we do that, here, Biden sums up his next 24 hours. Speaking to the pool, I'm going up to my granddaughter's birthday in New York. We're going to watch the debate tomorrow. And tomorrow I'm doing 9/11. That's right. He's going to do 9/11. How long will you stream today for the debate? What do you mean? I'm going to stream the debate. Ed Ingramentum is the guest. I don't know what you mean. How long will you stream the debate?
Up to my granddaughter's birthday in New York. Then we're going to watch the debate. And then tomorrow I'm doing 9/11. I spoke to the vice president. She seems calm, cool, collected.
That's right, baby. He's doing 9/11 tomorrow. Dude, what if he actually does do 9/11 though? Like again. Last time George W. Bush did it. What if he actually fucking does do it, dude? Think about that. Anyway, how come he doesn't get in trouble for saying he's going to do 9/11, but I get in trouble when I say America deserved it? That's kind of bullshit, dude. The double standard is glaring, okay? Give the people something to remember him by besides the genocide in Gaza. Yeah, he's like, you know, Israel's doing 10 9/11s every day in Gaza, and Americans can also experience a little bit of that because a lot of you have been saying a lot of mean things about Israel. So you deserve it too. Watch me. Watch me. Why? Okay. Let's talk about Israel.
The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says 19 Palestinians have been killed in an Israeli strike on a designated humanitarian zone. Local reports say at least 60 more who were sheltering in the displacement camp at al-Mawasi in the southwest of the Gaza Strip were injured. Israel's military says it targeted what it called a Hamas command center. Here's Mike Thompson.
Not long past midnight, devastation came from the sky. Eyewitnesses say at least 4 Israeli missiles struck this sprawling, overcrowded tent camp along the Gaza coast. Around 20 tents were obliterated, burying many who'd been sleeping beneath sand and rubble.
It's one of the largest craters that at least I've seen in this fucking, one of the largest craters I've seen since October 7. The justification is still the same from Israel. The false justification from Israel is, there's a Hamas command center there. Also, the unimaginably gross way that New York Times covered this. Breaking news, Gazan authorities reported huge craters and entire families missing after Israel said it struck a humanitarian zone to target a militant center. It's just, I don't know what else to say. It's the gross. It's so fucking gross. Ryan Grimm says, the Times knows this language is parsed with active be passive for its willingness to assign responsibility or not depending on perpetrator. A garbled passive mouthful like this blow, even after Israel acknowledges it struck a humanitarian zone, leaving carnage in its wake, is deliberate trolling at this point. They bombed another humanitarian zone with a bunker buster. Incredible.
It wasn't until dawn that the scale of the destruction at al-Mawasi began to become clear. Deep craters, some as much as 9 meters across, bear witness to what for many had been a night of horror.
We saw women and children cut in pieces. Many died. There are still people missing.
Al-Mawasi is a designated humanitarian safe zone. That seems a meaningless term there today. This woman is the mother of 10 children.
Death surrounds us in every place, and we don't know where to go. We are dying slowly. Israelis, please just kill us, finish us off. We are not living.
The Israeli military insists it successfully targeted a Hamas command and control center at al-Mawasi.
Every effort, the army also said, had been taken to minimize civilian casualties, using extensive intelligence, precise munitions, and aerial surveillance. But that's not reflected in the many haunted faces there.
Israelis told us to come here. We believed them and came. Everything I had is now gone. Please find us a solution. We are peaceful people. We don't have anything to do with the Hamas resistance.
With little sign yet of a Gaza ceasefire deal, the suffering of these people and others all over Gaza goes on.
Bro, it's just insane. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, they're just fucking cratering humanitarian tent encampments, dude. Like, there's nothing else. There's nothing to say at this point other than, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to even fucking say. I don't know. Would you consider BBC in terms of balanced coverage compared to others? No, it's so bad. BBC is incredibly bad. The worst is New York Times on Israel. Like, there is no worse paper in the Western world in terms of like the credibility that they have and how much they use that to defend Israel. The New York Times is number one because like Fox News is partisan. Okay. In terms of distribution, in terms of like perceived objectivity, in terms of credibility, the New York Times is the most important newspaper in the United States of America, and they are so fucking gross in the way that they cover this. Like, they are so imaginably, like, they are abhorrent. What is this? BBC breached guidelines 1,500 times over Israel-Hamas war. What is this? This is probably some fucking right-wing nonsense, isn't it? Oh, the BBC breached its own editorial guidelines. Oh, fuck. God damn it, dude. Come on, brother. Oh, here it is. Okay, I unlocked it. A report revealed a deeply worrying pattern of bias against Israel. Against Israel. I knew it. As soon as I saw this, I was like, I fucking knew it, dude. This is bullshit. I told you. As soon as I saw BBC breach its own guidelines, like, what? To cover Palestinian plight accurately? Doubtful. Yeah. Laughable shit. I don't care that the report was written by an Israeli lawyer, dude. I just know what BBC's coverage looks like. I've been looking at BBC coverage from the start. Deadly Israeli strike in Gaza humanitarian zone targets Hamas commanders. Yeah, look at this bias against Israel. Perhaps it's because they didn't say that, like, the humanitarian zone was asking for it hard enough in the title. That's crazy. Anyway.
Thompson, BBC News, Jerusalem.
The Israeli military says its investigation has shown it was highly likely that an American activist had been killed as a result of indirect and unintended IDF fire. 26-year-old Hasanabi, who is of Turkish origin, was shot dead on Friday during a weekly protest.
That's crazy. Like, bro, she's American, dog. Like, you don't have to add that shit, honestly. I feel like they do that specifically to be like, listen, she was kind of asking for it. She's Muslim. She's from one of those Muslim countries, Like, it's a way to like remove the American status. Like, how American was she really? I mean, she was Turkish after all, that sort of shit. Biden's statement on it is so fucked up. I haven't even gotten to it yet.
Against Jewish settlement expansion in the occupied West Bank. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has said in the last couple of hours that her killing was unprovoked and unjustified. Well, here he is in that news conference a short while ago.
With regard to the tragic killing of Hasanabi, I think what we saw of this investigation is it seems to show what eyewitnesses have said and made clear, that her killing was both unprovoked and unjustified. No one should be shot and killed for attending a protest. No one.
Unless you're protesting against Israel in America, in which case we will kill you. Yeah, it's great, man. Great stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much for this statement. Are you going to also use the surveillance equipment that you have at your disposal to help the Israeli government identify where Yahya Sinwar is, which you seemingly haven't been able to figure out who the fucking killer was on the Israeli team so you can drone strike them? Because that is how you should be operating if all things were fair. If all things were equal in this situation, you would be working tirelessly to kill the IDF sniper who shot and killed an American citizen. Unless, I guess, there's a double standard here and Israel is never in the wrong. And the person who is in the wrong usually is those who dare to recognize the humanity of Palestinians and even, dare I say, protest Israel's actions.
Looking at this incident, have pointed out the what seems to be a double standard or a different treatment of this death, death of an American citizen at the hands of Israeli forces to, other incidents where Americans have been killed in the conflicts in the Middle East or injured. Obviously there are different circumstances, but the president in relation to an attack by Iranian proxies earlier this year said, if you harm an American, we will respond. Does that apply in this case, or are we talking about a different standard?
Well, it's clear to anybody, Simon, that what the president was talking about in that context was a terrorist attack or a direct attack from a state or non-state actor that intentionally was conducted to put Americans or American citizens in harm's way. And of course, when it comes to the protection of our citizens and our personnel, and if they are targeted, we of course will take appropriate action. As it relates to the events.
That standard literally fits in this situation, dog. That what you're describing is just exactly what Israel did, which is a state actor that intentionally shot and killed an American citizen. Like, the way that he is trying to describe this event, like, this guy's 34 and graduated from University of Florida. How the fuck did he get to this level of prominence in the State Department? God damn, we have fallen off as a nation. Holy fuck.
On Friday, we are still gathering information as it relates to what transpired, what happened, and as tragic as it is, and it is tragic anytime anybody loses their life, any civilian loses their life. For people who work at this department, it is especially tragic when an American citizen loses their life. But we still don't know with full certainty what transpired and what happened, and that's why we are working to get as much information as we can, as well as encouraging our partners in Israel to quickly and robustly conduct.
Dude, if these kinds of investigations were needed to be taking place, you would literally be like, okay, well, I know that Hamas captured and kidnapped like Israeli American citizens, but we have to ask them why they did it. You know, we have to allow them to conduct an internal investigation as to why they did it, what the reasoning was behind why they did it. It's crazy. Like, he's literally being like, yeah, maybe she was Hamas, you know, in the West Bank as an American citizen. So maybe there was a good fucking reason for the Israeli sniper to just like shoot her in the head.
Conduct and conclude their process and make their findings public so we can understand what happened. And should whatever happened deem that there be appropriate accountability, the United States would certainly expect that as well. Going back to what I was saying before, it is of course tragic when any civilian loses their life. But it is important to note what you said, Simon, which is that each circumstance is different, and it is really important to keep that in mind in these processes.
The way that you're describing that sounds like you haven't sort of obviously you don't know exactly what transpired, but do you?
Wait, this guy's name is Chairman Wow. Not to be a useful idiot or glaze the Dems, but has it occurred to people, especially Stein supporters, that Harris can't go against the status quo and expect to win? Yeah. Why is Harris the presidential candidate again? What happened? Because I feel like there was a thing that happened that was like completely against the status quo, that the very same fears that you have right now that you're demonstrating were exactly what happened in that circumstance as well. You can, as a matter of fact, and should go against the status quo when there is overwhelming public support for said actions, as demonstrated by the fact that the trajectory of this election changed when the Democratic Party, by accident, responded to public pressure and swapped out Biden for Kamala Harris. You don't know what happened in terms of like why Biden is no longer running for president and Kamala Harris is running for president? You don't know what happened? I'm Canadian, bro.
You have doubt that it
We're
was
done.
an Israeli bullet?
I am not going to get ahead of a process here, Simon. Obviously, there has been a great deal of open source and public reporting and eyewitness reporting about what transpired on Friday, and I certainly will let those comments and those reportings be. But I think most important is to let this process play out, for the facts to be gathered and for those to come to light. And I will just leave it at that.
This dude is a demon, but he's fucking bad at his job. Yeah. Sometimes when I see stuff like this, I wonder, like, is it because like there's a little bit of humanity inside of him that's like trying to crawl out, and he's like genuinely aware of it?
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, I that's why I think like John Kirby is the worst one out of all of them. Like he just loves it. Like he probably jerks off to the idea of like American citizens that dare lend support to Palestinians getting sniped in the fucking head. That's like, he nuts there.
Yeah.
You said you look for more information from independent Israeli investigation. That's been the same U.S. posture for Hinderjob, who was killed 224 days ago. So Ravi's question, how can Aishanor's family take an investigation seriously if it's conducted by the perpetrator? And, moreover, if they've continued delayed and reportedly lied to the U.S. about their investigation into Hinderjob?
Well, that is exactly why we have called and have continued to call for these processes to be as swift and as thorough as possible, and we have that same expectation here as well, and we'll continue to press.
It's been 224 days since Hindu was killed, and in the same instance, for example, we've seen open source reporting, eyewitness accounts that evidently show a potential human rights violation. You say, you're pushing for a swift investigation. If that's the same posture with this, when can Americans expect a conclusion?
Any American can expect that this administration and this government will do everything we can to ascertain and gather whatever information is required, and I'm going to let that process play out.
Israel?
I don't have any.
I'm not going to watch 27 minutes of the State Department presser. I don't want to kill myself. I'm sorry, chatter. If I were to watch the State Department pressers, I would fucking kill myself in a video game, okay? It is some of the darkest. Like, these people in that room, the journalists in that room are doing the Lord's work, okay? Even when I watch it in 1 minute increments, it's still some of the darkest shit, because you have no humanity behind those eyes, man. You got a fucking State Department official straight up sitting there and being like, permanent genocide is actually fucking good, and our ally and our partners are doing it, and I think that that's great, and no amount of American death will actually cause us to change course. We will just block and push. Anyway, when is Israel going to become the 51st state? Bro, they are already. They are. Breaking. Biden says the death of U.S. citizen Aishin Ezgi in the West Bank from IDF fire was apparently an accident and result of a bullet that hit the ground and ricocheted. That's what he said.
What's your reaction, sir, to the killing of the Israeli admission that they probably killed the Turkish activist in the West Bank?
More detail. Apparently, it was an accident, ricocheted off the ground, and we got hit by accident. We're working that out now.
What did the president?
Dude, that's like, that's your citizen, right? Like, that's like, there is perhaps no greater indication that you're just completely fucking cucked than referring to the assassination of one of your citizens as like, whatever, I guess it was an accident, shut the fuck up. Oh, I guess it's okay then. Remember when the press was so wound up that IDF bombed a hospital that they spun it for weeks, that Hamas bombed their own hospital, and then they just moved on entirely as if that didn't happen? Yeah, and then they also stopped covering the Israeli forces bombing every other fucking hospital. So I do remember that. I also remember so many people online who were fucking mad at me as though I bombed the fucking hospital. Many of those guys have just shut the fuck up. The very same media that did not cover the pro-rape rallies that occurred in Israel, of course. Our greatest ally in the region, our greatest ally on the planet, a nation more moral than the United States of America. It's crazy because what Biden's statement here is insane, because Israel itself literally fucking said that they shot at her because they thought she was someone else.
So after retreating from the hilltop, I was right there where the garbage can is, and it was completely quiet already back then. The clashes had dissipated, and then after 10 or...
The White House, by the way, Biden has not spoken to the family of Aishin Egi, the American killed by Israeli forces 3 days ago. The Israelis have reached out, made sure that we knew that they were promptly investigating this. We'll obviously withhold our judgment. We'll see what they learn.
The American citizen who was killed in the West Bank on Friday, Aishin Egi, has the president had a chance to speak to her family at all? And do you have any sense of where the investigation stands? I know that you all had asked for the ball to get rolling on an investigation to her death. Do you know?
I feel like this, the World Central Kitchen incident, the Hinrajab murder, all been events that could have and maybe should have turned mainstream tide on supporting Israel, but that hasn't happened. Genuinely, what more will it take for there to be a finally vibe shift, and when we can start turning Israel into the pariah state that it is? Israel already is a pariah state. Israel will most likely never be able to fucking Israel will most likely never be treated in the same way ever again, for as long as it exists. For as long as there are Palestinians living and breathing on this planet, Israel will never be seen in the same way ever again. The question that you're asking me is, when will the media change? The media will never change. Okay? And and the reason why they'll never change is because they are propagandists working at the behest of the State Department. Okay? They have their own personal interests in this in this story, in the way that they want to cover the story. They're owned by the corporations. Their goal is to fucking advance the interests of the State Department. And as long as the State Department continues saying Israel can do no wrong, it's the most moral nation on the planet, it's the best nation on earth, then the media will keep covering it that way. It's the very same media that championed the Iraq War, knowing full well that it was built on a lie. As we've talked about before, this is not the first time that Israel has assassinated an American citizen. That's why I told you that this assassination was not going to move the needle, unfortunately.
The American citizen who was killed in the West Bank on Friday, Hasanabi, has the president had a chance to speak to her family at all? And do you have any sense of where the investigation stands? I know that you all had asked for the ball to get rolling on an investigation to her death. Do you know if there are any updates on that?
He has not spoken to the family as of yet. I don't have a call to talk about today. Obviously, we continue to mourn with her family, of course. The Israelis have reached out, made sure that we knew that they were promptly investigating this. As I understand it from just before I came out here, they are moving swiftly on this investigation and will soon, we think, in coming days, be able to present their findings and conclusions. We'll obviously withhold our judgment until we see that. We've called for a complete, thorough, swift, and transparent investigation. We'll see what they learn.
Yeah. So I just don't get it, because like when American citizens are killed by Israeli bombs or by Hamas hands directly, which the Israeli bombs are still attributed to Hamas hands, you guys don't do this like, let's conduct an investigation. You're like pretty quick with it. You immediately called the parents up of the Israeli American citizen that was killed. I just don't understand, like, is there a double standard here for fucking Turkish Americans? Is there a double standard for Americans who are pro-Palestinian? And by the way, it's not just because she's Turkish American, just so you understand. It absolutely is because she is pro-Palestinian and killed by Israel. This happened to Rachel Corrie. Rachel Corrie is literally the whitest, as white as you can get, from fucking Olympia, okay? Blonde, blue-eyed Rachel Corrie was assassinated by an Israeli bulldozer. They literally said it was a fucking accident. Then they celebrated her murder. I'm saying this as a Turkish American citizen, a person with dual nationality, just like Ayşenur, okay? The highest order of priority here is Israel killed her, so obviously they can do no wrong. Ultimately, Israel has killed American citizens in the past and will continue to do so in the future.
For 15 minutes, it was completely quiet. I heard two distinct shots of live ammunition. One hit a metal object, and then I retreated a little bit backwards into the olive grove. And then a few seconds after, maybe 2 or 3 seconds, a second shot. And I heard someone calling my name and saying in English, help us, we need help, come over. So I raced through the olive groves down there. Her head was gushing with blood. She was lying here. I put my hand behind her back to try and stop the bleeding, which didn't stop. I looked up and saw a direct line of sight from where the soldiers were on that rooftop, some 200 meters away.
What could it have ricocheted off of? I just don't really understand. Like, it ricocheted off the ground? That's what Biden said. I mean, this is before we asked the question, why were they using sniper rifles in the direction of protesters? Why were they shooting in the direction of protesters? Israel had an answer for that, by the way. They didn't say the bullet ricocheted or whatever. They might have told that to the American government, but that wasn't the first way that they actually tried to defend themselves. They said they thought she was someone else. They thought she was not an American peaceful protester, but a Palestinian peaceful protester, you know, because if she was a Palestinian peaceful protester that they shot dead to rights in the fucking head, there wouldn't even be a blip.
Quickly took her pulse. It was very, very weak. Her eyes were rolled back. Her skin started becoming yellow. And we panically called for the ambulance to come. By the time this had happened, it was completely quiet here. We were standing for 10, 15 minutes without anything happening. The reason why no one was filming is because it was completely quiet. And then all of a sudden, 2 shots, and the sniper or the soldier that was there took a kill shot.
This does not make you feel some type of way being an American Turkish citizen, knowing that this is how your government views you, values you? No, because I know it already. And it's not because I'm also a Turkish American citizen. I'm also pro-Palestine. And I know how the government views me, dude. I know already. It's not like surprising to me at all. I talked about this. In the lower end of the fucking totem pole for American dual citizenship, because the American passport holds a lot of value. And not directly because it's associated with a human being, an American citizen, but because that's a way for America to also say, you don't touch our fucking citizens, we'll come and kill you, right? They have to defend their hegemonic power status by defending every American unconditionally. Having said that, however, everyone knows that there is a racial hierarchy of who America cares about. Palestinians are literally at the bottom of that. If you're a Palestinian American, you are lower than the lowest form of human for Americans, okay? Seriously, straight up. No, more expendable than black Americans. A black American gets fucking kidnapped in Mexico, America's gonna do something about it, okay? No, it's not even a question. If you're a Palestinian American, you are the lowest priority, okay? Lowest. Not even a question. I'm telling you right now, Shireen Abu Akleh, Palestinian American citizen, very famous fucking journalist, assassinated by Israel in 2020. Nothing came of it. 2021. Nothing came of it. Nothing. Okay? Lowest priority, 100%. Just, oops, it was an accident. Yeah. Jamal Khashoggi was Saudi and American. And as a Saudi, you definitely get higher priority. But in terms of priority, Arab Americans, Muslim Americans have the lowest rank. He wasn't American, says Qatari Cat. No, he was a legal permanent resident. Don't think the comparison to other minorities is necessary here. If you're upset about what I have to say in this regard, you're just oblivious to the reality, you know? That's it. Because what I'm saying is the truth. And I will keep saying it. I've had this conversation with Mark Lamont Hill. If you guys recall, it's something that I keep repeating over and over again. The conditions that Palestinians are subjected to in Israel, especially in Gaza, are far worse than contemporary contemporary conditions that black Americans are subjected to on a daily basis in the United States of America. Anyone that fucking says that that is not the truth is ridiculous. This does not mean that black Americans are living great, okay, or are not victims of white supremacist criminal justice systems, not victims, not reduced to becoming enslaved by a different by a legal means. You know, that's still the truth. It's just that's how bad the situation is for Palestinians.
And this happens in context. This isn't an isolated incident.
Like if the conditions were similar right now, if by some magical happenstance, if the material conditions of the Palestinians were improved to a degree where they were elevated to the status of citizenship in the same way that black Americans are, it would be considered the greatest achievement of human rights of all time. That is not to say that black Americans are not oppressed by a white supremacist structure in this country. That is to show you how insane, how completely out of whack the situation in Israel is. So yeah.
Happens in the context of 17 people who were killed in demonstrations in Beta since 2021. We have heard nothing about them because they're not Americans.
Oh, devastating shit. All right.
It would be.
Now let's get back to the debate tonight. Fox 5 arguing about which candidate is a bigger Zionist, like it's a good thing. Of course they are.
Difficult to find another presidential election where the debates mattered so much. It seems like we hear that every debate, but this one, for real, for real. After the last one, President Joe Biden, as you know, was literally forced to drop out of the race. Tonight, it's Vice President Kamala Harris's turn to face off against former President Donald Trump. And she now has room to define herself. For many voters, this will be the very first time seeing her respond to questions in real time. And the polls show that voters say that they need to know more about her than they do Donald Trump. And that's where we will start our debate coverage this morning with Weijia Jiang. She's on the road covering the vice president's preparation for the big night. Weijia, good morning. Always good to see you. It's a big night for both of them, actually, but all eyes really on Kamala Harris tonight for many voters.
I've heard that like 2/3 of voters are going to tune into this or some shit. Actually crazy.
Oh, good morning to you, Gail. Good morning to everybody. You know, when Vice President Harris and former President Trump step onto that stage tonight, it will be their first time ever meeting face to face. It will also be her first presidential debate and Trump's seventh. And the way these two have prepared is drastically different.
How are you feeling?
Vice President Harris spent the night in Philadelphia after a 5-day stay in Pittsburgh, where she held extended mock debates with a stand-in for Trump, a former aide to Hillary Clinton who even dressed like the former president. Harris's team built a stage with bright lights to replicate the environment she will face tonight as she braced for Trump's tactics.
There's no floor for him in terms of how low he will go, and we should be prepared for that. We should be prepared for the fact that he is not burdened by telling the truth.
The setting will be familiar to Trump, but he has spent days tempering expectations.
You know, if I destroy her in the debate, they'll say, Trump suffered a humiliating defeat tonight, no matter what.
The two will not be able to engage in a tit for tat because the mic will be muted if it's not their turn to talk. Harris's team fears that will hamper her ability to prosecute the case.
Yeah, she's not very good at being concise and clear and hitting talking points. She is very good at cross-examining people, obviously, because she's a fucking prosecutor, and she's not going to be able to do that. So she's already coming in with like training weights on. It also sucks because they're depriving us of content. Obviously, I care about that pretty much more than anything else at this point because I've completely lost faith that the Democratic Party is actually going to do anything good. Like we'll see. I think that ultimately it is it's shitty. Everything that she has shown me so far, her campaign has shown me so far, is that yes, bro, I did cover the Tyreek Hill situation. Big Fins fan that runs a page and might post a clip from it to highlight the issue to a crowd that isn't exactly that sphere. Yes, I covered the fuck out of it for like an hour and a half. My man said Big Fins fan. Chairman, wow. Okay. So as far as I know, Trump was, dude, listen, you're Canadian, man. Okay. You already admitted that in the chat. I'm not trying to have this conversation with you. Okay. I already have enough American liberals to deal with. I don't want to talk to some uneducated Canadian liberal on the matter and just like fucking have the same like relitigation of 2016 era memes. Okay. No, it's not happening. Sorry. Just enjoy what remains of your current social healthcare structure before they fucking gut that, okay? Because it's coming. It's coming for you. Get excited about that, you know. Everything that you see here in the United States of America in terms of like how our politics operates, it'll happen. And you will probably be doing the same like lesser evil voting advocacy for Justin Trudeau that you have done thus far, I suspect. And you won't understand how like neoliberalism gutted your institutions. I mean, it's already there for Canada. It is, you know, America's hat at the end of the day. How the fuck do you search a specific streamer on here nowadays? If you're asking for mobile, I don't know. There's no answer for it. Twitch mobile is so ass. I hate it every time I log on. Anyway, as I've stated, I have no expectation from tonight's debate. I do know this though. Odds are in Trump's favor because of the muted mic situation. The odds are against Kamala Harris because she is nowhere near as telegenic. Okay? Kamala Harris also is held to a different standard. Democrats are held to a different standard by mainstream media. Donald Trump can lie as much as he wants to. Donald Trump can flip-flop on positions as much as he wants to. And the media does not fucking hold him accountable in the same way that they hold the Democratic Party accountable. Why? Because the media still treats the Democratic Party as adults in the room. So they do get that benefit. They do get the benefit of being treated as adults in the room in the eyes of the broader electorate, but they also get that double standard. Sorry, them's the fucking rules, all right? It doesn't matter. You can complain about it. You can cry to the referee all day, every day. It does not matter. Shut the fuck up and work against the odds. If you're a fucking politician, you know this already. I'm a dumbass Twitch streamer. I don't even wear sleeves half the fucking time any longer, and I know this. If I know this, you know it too. It's your fucking job. Okay? Now the problem is, I don't think Kamala Harris is capable of this. I've been thinking about this a lot in terms of like Donald Trump going out and doing these like big podcast moves, you know, trying to activate people that normally do not participate in the electoral process. Could Kamala Harris do that? Fuck no, she can't. Whose show is she gonna go on? Mine? What's she gonna do? Like, can you imagine a conversation between her and Theo Vaughn? I can't. No, we're not talking about The View, chat. Like, she'll go to The View, but that's already mainstream media. She's not even doing mainstream media. You say Pod Johns, all of her surrogates have been on the Pod Johns. Name one fucking Pod John appearance that any of her surrogates have done that has ever hit the same level of mainstream coverage as Donald Trump going on Theo Vaughn. One, I don't think she can do it. I don't think she's capable of doing it. So I don't even know how she's going to try to hit the fucking independent media angle regardless. She should go on the I've Had It pod. She has. You didn't even know that. She already has. See? That's my fucking point. Of course, this was before she became president, but still, it was before she became the candidate. Anyway, she could play Among Us like AOC did law, get that Gen Z vote. AOC is capable of conducting these sorts of interviews as a surrogate. I don't think Kamala Harris is. That's all I'm saying. Tim Walz could do it, but it's still not Kamala Harris. Right now, what you're seeing is Donald Trump hitting the independent media angle and JD Vance hitting the news outlets. Kamala Harris has not hit any of the fucking news outlets. She did one interview. Tonight, she is going to be on the largest stage, far larger than the DNC. Tonight is the night where this will be her make it or break it moment. There's still like 20% of the electorate that don't know enough of her, don't know enough about her, are willing and able to vote for her. Tonight will be the night where either she captures the attention of some of those people or causes them to fuck off and never really go out to vote come November. And all things considered, there's a shit ton of pressure. Kamala Harris is not exactly a very charismatic individual. That much is obvious. And beyond the fact that she is not exactly a very charismatic individual, Kamala Harris also has a litany of complications that she must overcome. She is going to get hit on a lot of these things that she's already gotten hit on. Not by Donald Trump, mind you, by ABC. They're going to do the Dana Fast shit. They're going to be like, why are you such a flip-flopper? Okay, why'd you say defund the fucking police or abolish ICE or whatever, and then now you want to fucking build the border wall? These are questions that are going to come up. And the Dana Bash answers were not good. Okay, that's it. I'm actually surprised by that thing. I think Kamala's very charismatic from what I've seen. Come on, guys. I mean, I don't think so. Remember how much people yelled at me in the beginning when everyone was hopped up on the Mamala train and people were yelling at me because I said she's not charismatic? Oh my God. Remember chatters were being like, wow, you want a black woman to shuck and jive for you. That's what they said. You guys remember that? Anyway. The only successful line she's ever delivered in her entire political career was the most scripted and pre-planned line in that one debate about busing. She has zero charisma. Yeah. She has no charisma. Her policies are boring. She has no charisma. She's not telegenic. Her policy positions are boring. They're scared. She's running scared and some people will say it's because she's a black woman. She's afraid of like disrupting the racists. The racists have made up their minds about her. Get the fuck out of here. She's literally a cop. And don't worry, she's still very much like the mechanical political operative that old people don't necessarily have that big of an issue with. So the real issue here is that she doesn't have any like policy distinctions from Joe Biden. What? Are you okay? This motherfucker's spamming this. Fine, ignore me, but I would have liked the poll. I don't know why you're withholding me, lol. Because there's 35,000 people in here, dog. I don't fucking see every goddamn spammer. Like, calm down. I'm a bit hyper. I did too much Ritalin today. Dial it back, chatter. Fuck. Like I said, not only is she not telegenic, her policies are boring. And also, even worse than boring, her policies directly tie her back to Joe Biden. Okay? Imaginable L for the Kamala Harris campaign. Like, she was literally outperforming Biden on the economy for a fucking good reason. And now she's literally tying herself to the Biden administration. Biden is very unpopular on the economy. Biden was very unpopular on immigration. She's tied herself to fucking Biden on immigration too. It blows my fucking mind, bro. Biden is like, I'm doing 9/11 tomorrow. Maybe Kamala Harris will do that as well.
My daughter's birthday in New York. Then we're going to watch the debate. And then tomorrow I'm doing 9/11.
Yeah, you heard it. You heard him. You heard him, bro. He said, I'm doing 9/11 tomorrow. Yo, when an American president says that, that means something. That's way more meaningful than me saying 3 minutes of ads are coming for you at the top of the hour. You know what I mean? He said, I'm doing 9/11. Don't show up to work tomorrow. That's what he said.
Damn, this guy's good.